Audio's up. Live stream's up. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good morning, y'all. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. It's a Monday morning. Y'all already know what the deal is. I'm your host, Eric Bookman. I am a psycho-spiritual consultant and a practicing left-hand path magician. But what do those things mean, right? That's more important than whether or not I said it. Good to see y'all this morning. Society Ejax 111 user, welcome to the show, man. Good to see y'all. I jumped in early. You too, Rocky. Good morning. Welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome to the show. I'm gonna try seeing if I can put this on Instagram. And look, for the last couple times, Instagram been flagging me for hate speech. I don't know what to think about it. But, let me see. That's why I ain't been on Instagram Live in a minute, for real. So, what do I want to talk about today? Well, in the title, you can see, some of the things the spiritual teachers aren't talking to you about. But I did notice this. People seem to be very drawn to information that if you tell them, somebody's hiding something from you, somebody's, here's the secret, here's what they don't want you to know, here's what only a few people know about, only 1% of the population knows this, such and such exposed, the truth on this, right? You'll see that in the titles a lot, right? And as I'm thinking about it, why is that so appealing? And I think it deeply has something to do with how people are trying to figure out what they need to know. Used to be you go to school and you're under the assumption that these people are going to teach me what I need to know. Which is why people will say something like, oh, look, this is what they didn't teach you in school. Oh, they should have taught me that in school. Because you're under the assumption that these people are going to teach me what I need to know. But I say that to sort of point to the idea of what you get from someone who's doing spiritual teaching. Someone hating on you. Look, that's what I thought. But, everyone always thinks someone's hating on them, so I didn't want to jump there. Somebody might be mad at you and reporting your page. People are generally mad at me. Generally mad at me. For some of the reasons we're going to talk about here today. People are generally upset at me. It won't be the argument, because they don't understand the argument, It will be me. I'm not nice. I am rude. I'm arrogant. They feel like I'm pretending to know it all. I don't even know how you would do that. My best guess, though, is using words you don't really know. That's my best guess at how you pretend to be smart, is using words you don't really know and not checking yourself on it. But anyways, I want to go through a bit of those things. And as soon as I start, I want to kind of talk about exactly what drew me to explore this topic today. So, y'all give me a few. Gerald Sunbright, good to see you in the chat, man. Welcome to the show, bro. Gerald Sunbright II. You out here messing up the church's money. Hell yeah, bro. I'm constantly messing people's money, messing up their bottom line. Cause, bro, you can't unhear me. You can't. You'll try. You'll fucking try. All right, give me a second here. Here we go. I managed the show by myself. Just like him, he's building the boat by himself. What? What happened to me? Hopefully, this Instagram Live just says, just go to the YouTube Live. Just go to the YouTube Live. Don't even worry about the Instagram Live. Instagram be hating. Motherfuckers want to get this shit about the chaos. Or they just want to wear chaos as a badge. It don't work that way. It don't work that way. Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. I mess up people's fun. That's what it is. I mess up people's fun. Because for some people, talking about this spiritual stuff is just fun. And I mess up the fun. I mess up the fun. Look, I won't even deny that. I'm a dick. I'm a piece of shit. That makes sense. I mess up the fun. No, I can grasp that. You were saying what people don't necessarily want to hear. That's probably why they're mad. Yeah. But it draws your attention to the fact that the only thing that was really moving you was whether or not you wanted to hear it. Because as soon as you can't hear something that you didn't want to hear and you can't unhear it, it highlights the fact that you've secretly been dealing with just what you want to hear. But nobody wants to think that. They want to think, I'm the person who's seeking esoteric knowledge. I want to know the truth. And I'm that kind of person. And then, I point out some of the truth that they don't want to hear. And it's like, well, maybe you weren't just looking for truth. Maybe you were looking for a bunch of other things that it's easier not to acknowledge. You show them to do something. Well, Aries, that's hard. Well, are you looking for something that's easy? No, I don't want you. I just want it to be easy. Well, then what difference did that make? Yeah, I'm eternally disgusted by that. But, see, that's my emotions. That's my emotions. When I say I'm disgusted by that, that's my emotions. That's why I'm telling people my emotions. Because they want to immediately tell me how they felt about how I felt. And it's like, well, hold on. Do you even understand why I felt that way? No. They rather tell me how they felt about how I felt. Whatever, man. Not fun. Funds. Look, let me get into that, right? Right, Rocky? Relax, you good. Welcome to the show, man. Good to see you here, man. Fuck fun. Let's get to this lifestyle work. All right, now. All right? Hey, look, I don't mind. Not at all. We gonna do it. Just to remind you guys real quick before I get in, Welcome Week is coming back around. Link in the description takes you right to the details. What you can do is, look at that, 2024 calendar, right? Boom. I make these things very simple, okay? Anytime you see green on the calendar, this is Welcome Week. For 1 week, the doors to the guild are open. I don't like to have it available to you all the time because this course isn't just a folder of videos. Some people will give you a folder of videos and it's called Go at Your Own Pace, right? And that's what you like. You get to continue to do what you've been doing and still get something new. Nah, come on. You know that don't work. You know it don't work like that, but you want it to. Look, I don't let people in throughout the year because I want to be able to spend my time focusing on just those people. That, and I don't want to be administrating onboarding all throughout the year. I want to take a single amount of time to do that. Make sure the people who are in, then we focus on that. Oh, Aries, just tell me one time and I'm going to get it. Well, that's a lot too. I got to get into that. Anyways, when you see green, that means Welcome Week is around. So the end of December into the beginning of January, the doors will be open. Please start saving your money. Go ahead. Just save some money, right? I know it's hard. Everybody's going through shit right now. Not just the economy in the States, global economy. It's crunching down. It's tight. So I get it. But look, if I told you, hey, save your money. Chris Brown is coming into town. You get to take a picture with him. Money saved, right? Right? American Deli is having a special on wings. 25-cent wings, right? Money saved up. Right? The new video game is coming out. Money saved up. No, see, when you start saving for the things you want, it don't matter what's going on. Hey, look, that's what I'm just... Fuck me, right? I get it. No, Aries is a piece of shit. You're right. I'm not wrong, but you're right. All right, so this is what I want to talk about today, guys. Some of the things that your spiritual teachers aren't telling you. And I'm gonna frame it that way because that's what. Just go to YouTube, bro. Just go to YouTube. I want to frame it that way because, first of all, it's gonna grab your attention. See, that's not me tricking you. You tricked yourself down the street, and I'm sitting here like, look, hey, bro, you tricked. Look. Yes, your spiritual teachers aren't telling you these things, but why is that the case? Once again, it's not because someone is hiding from you. It's for two reasons. One, you're gullible in a way that you don't understand yet. Just like a child when they develop, you're gullible in a way you don't understand yet. And because you're not interested in understanding it, it has to be used against you. Otherwise, you're uncooperative. You ever seen somebody try to feed a baby? Here comes the airplane, right? And they go, ah! That's what you're doing when you're always looking for where's the secret information? Where's what they're trying to hide from me? Because it's like as a child, you think there's something your parents are trying to hide from you, and that's what you want to know. Not all the stuff that you could know. Not all the stuff they tell you to go look at. What's the thing they don't want me to know? That must be the good thing. And it usually comes from not knowing what you need to know. See, that's something that's a little more uncomfortable to look at. That I don't know what I need to know. And I don't even know how to begin. It's something you can deal with. But it's not comfortable. It's so helpful when you bring in examples. Yeah. I guess so. I mean, I try to. I guess it helps out. I'm glad it's helpful. So that's the first reason. You're gullible in a way that you don't understand. And because you're not looking to understand that, it has to be used against you. It has to be. The trickster. Why does the trickster do what the trickster does? Is the trickster a liar? No. As a matter of fact, if you look into the mythology of the tricksters, they're not liars. Ishu hated lying. He would not lie to you, but he would trick the fuck out of you. All right? Legba, he's not a liar, but he will trick the fuck out of you. But if you get tricked, what does that say about you? Remember, fool me once, shame on me, right? It's saying something about you. That's not as comfortable. It's not as easy as being the victim. Hey, they tricked me. You tricked yourself way back there, and they was nice enough to tell you. So that's the first reason. The second reason, why are your spiritual teachers not telling you these things? The second reason is they don't know. Now, I don't want you to interpret this as, Aries, you're just trying to tell me you have the knowledge that nobody has. No. I routinely point you to other people who are saying what I'm saying. It's just not going to be your spiritual teachers, because your spiritual teachers can get away with calling anything spiritual. This is what happens when you're above debate. In science and philosophy, debate is crucial to getting to not just consensus, but to start to weed out things that don't make sense. That's what the scientific method does. It weeds out things that don't make sense. That is what your shadow work does. It weeds out things that are off course. It weeds out things that are off course. Hakeem, good to see you in the chat. Welcome to the show. A little while back, because on the Guild, once again, link in the description, there's a section for dumb questions, okay? Everybody thinks their question is dumb. And by virtue of that, they're terrified to ask it because they don't want to look dumb. And so they want to not look dumb more than they want to find the answer to the question. Which you say it and it's like, oh, that's crazy. But no, it's just really true. But anyways, a while back, somebody posted a question here. They were a former member of the guild, and they were talking about their working with ancestors. And the issue he was having was he couldn't understand why the ancestors weren't affirming him in his motivations to do music. So he was motivated in music. He deeply, like, his idea was, I'm supposed to be doing music. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Why aren't the ancestors affirming me? Why aren't they telling me why aren't they giving me clues about this? And so just from reading the question, my thought was he asked once. He asked multiple times. Like, you ever see somebody who gets like a tarot reading and they don't like the answer they got in the reading, and so they're like, pull the cards again. That's what he did with the ancestors. And so, if you're familiar with me, immediately, boom, what? Like, you got the answer, but this is the problem, and this is what was confusing him. He was lacking on the shadow work part. The part where he is checking himself. When he's checking his own motivations. Okay? And so I get into asking him, and you can, here we go, this is it right here. You can actually go and read our back and forth if you'd like. It's not a problem. So I'm not going to reread it to you. Motherfuckers love that shit. Read your bedtime story. Stop. Such a dick. So you can go and read the back and forth if you like. But the issue he was having, he didn't even know why he wanted to do music. He didn't even know why he was so certain that was the path he was taking. And I can tell you right now, a lot of people do music. A lot of people do music. And everyone who does music thinks their music needs to be heard. Like, a lot of people are authors. You ever gone to the Dollar Tree and seen how many books there are? Ever gone to the Walmart $1 bin for books? Every one of those, none of those authors think my book deserves to be in the $1 bin. But if you start writing books and you never consider it, you haven't really looked at the situation. Joe Gresham, good to see you in the chat, man. Welcome to the show, bro. Do work. What is that? I don't know what that means. Are you emphasizing the necessity of the work? Because some people don't want to do the work. They just want to have the fun part. So, 2 reasons your spiritual teachers aren't telling you what we're going to talk about today. 1, you're gullible in a way that you don't understand, and you're not interested in understanding it, and so that's going to get in your way. Just like the baby. You want to feed him the mashed peas, and like, I want to eat the mashed. Here come the airplane. Oh, got him, right? It's the baby is gullible in a way that it doesn't understand, and so in order to get it to be cooperative, you have to use that against them. Lai, good to see you in the chat, man. Welcome to the show. That's the first reason. The second reason, they don't know. A lot of people can claim anything is spiritual. Why? Because they're teaching you and you're not going to question it. You ever see somebody tell something ridiculous to a kid and the kid just believes it? Ever seen kids talk to each other? Where one kid, like, let's say some kids are teaching each other baseball, right? Neither of them actually know how it works, but one has a few of the words from baseball. And so that little kid, confident. They play some baseball with their dad, little t-ball, watch sports with their dad, right? And they feel very confident that they can teach the other kids baseball. And so you can listen to them talk, and they just wrong. He's wrong. They don't understand that they're wrong. And the other kid don't understand, the one who's listening, they don't understand that the one that's teaching them don't understand either. And so you got 2 motherfuckers that are ignorant trying to teach each other. One trying to teach the other, and the other trying to learn from them. Okay? And once again, this isn't to say I'm better than them. Although, I will say I'm better than them. That's not the end of the story. I'm only better. It's like if I'm an Olympic swimmer and I'm going against somebody who doesn't swim. Yes, I'm better, but not because something about me. The other person doesn't swim. I'm better because the people who will say metaphysics don't study metaphysics. I'll point you to people who study metaphysics. I'll talk to you about metaphysics. I am certain that if you actually do the research, you can go further than me. I know people who I'll introduce you to that go further than me. So the fact that I'm further than you isn't the problem. It's that you haven't even started. I am arrogant, but it's not unfounded. It's not unfounded. Just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube, guys. The experience will be much better. You'll be able to see the screen and everything. All right, so I want to get into some of the things your spiritual teachers aren't telling you, okay? Story time, right? I was listening to the audio of a consultation that another teacher put up. They had a consultation with one of their students, and I just got hurt about how much the other person charges for consultations and how much less the person got. Like I said, I'm a consultant. Consulting is what I do. It's not just what I offer. Anyways, see, I have emotions too. They were talking to the person in the consultation, and when you're dealing with your teacher, the presumption, just like when we think, oh, they didn't teach us this in school. Well, why do you say that? Because the presumption is that school is going to teach you the things you need to know. That's why we go to teachers, because they're a reservoir for the things that we need to know. Okay? And so you have an expectation that if you're learning from somebody, they're going to take the responsibility to tell you when you're wrong. And that did not happen here. That did not happen here. And specifically this. The person said, and I'll get your comment in a second. The person said something to the effect of, well, I'm just going to continue leaning in to being selfish and delusional because that works for me. So my ears were like, what the fuck did they just say? And the teacher said, sure, whatever gets you results. And I wanted to vomit. But once again, I'm telling you how I felt. I'm going to tell you why that's just terrible. Okay? A large chunk of spiritual work is about getting you out of being selfish and delusional. But most people are focused on what they're calling results. I want to get this. I want to have that. I want to get this. I want to have that. Spirituality is not about that. But remember, you're gullible in a way that you don't understand and you're not looking for it. So if somebody tells you, hey, we're going to get you these results, you're going to have this, you're going to get this, you're going to have this, because you're gullible in a certain way that you don't understand, and they're not taking the responsibility to tell you, you're going to eat it up. Here comes the plane. Oh! Because that's what the person wanted to hear. That them being selfish and delusional is okay. That's why the student said it to the teacher. Why don't they call out these spiritual teachers speaking pseudoscience? Because they don't know what pseudoscience is, one. And two, they're focused on what they'd like things to be. If somebody comes to you and tells you, you can manifest everything you want, that's perfect. That's perfect for these people out here, most students, probably including you too, because that's all they're really focused on. Somebody goes to karate class, and the advertisement is, we'll teach you to do a spinning jump kick. We'll teach you to defend yourself from the bullies. That's what the person wants. Most of that karate class is learning the basic form. And you do that one punch 100 times, right? See, that wasn't in the advertisement. Because if you told them, hey, come do a one punch 100 times, I don't need you for that. I don't need a master for that. I don't even want to do that. I'm not going to that teacher. The mashed peas. Eat the mashed peas, Jimmy. I don't want to eat the mashed peas. I don't need that. There's candy. That's why. Most people aren't going to recognize pseudoscience when you show it to them because they don't know what science is. But they'd also like to believe that they know. You say melanin, you say magnetosphere, you say electromagnetic spectrum, you say biology, right? Those sound scientific. So they'll say it. So yeah, no one knows to call out the teacher because they presume that the teacher is taking the steps not to be inaccurate. And, like you're saying there, Malik, because no one debates and too much money in business, you gotta understand, a lot of these teachers, all they have is the business side. Like, that's their big emphasis. Their prices don't change. They stay the same. Constantly tell you, I don't hide the fact that there's a business side to it. Like, a lot of times people are looking for someone to trust, because this goes back to, I don't know what I'm supposed to be learning. I don't know what I need to know. And I don't know how to figure out what I need to know. So I'm looking for someone to trust, who I can trust is going to tell me what I need to know. And because they're focused on that, well, do I trust this person? How do I feel about this person? And they're using that to determine whether or not this person is teaching me what I need to know. It's natural shit, bro. It's natural shit. Ryan Morrow, 77. Good to see you in the chat. Good news. Billy Carson just got embarrassed in a debate against Christian apologist Weiss Huff this past week, I think. Billy Carson has been embarrassing himself for the longest. But the people who trust Billy Carson can never see that. They can never see that about Billy Carson. Because they're not going to do any of the research. They're not going to look into any of that. And Billy Carson isn't going to tell them, hey, the dude's a known scammer. He's not going to tell them they're being scammed. He's going to take some things that are truth and mix it with a whole bunch of other stuff that he'd like you to pay attention to. That's how bullshit works. But, once again, everybody's above debate. Why? Because if you debate them, they'll embarrass themselves. Another story, Instagram. Once again, because I'm constantly looking at what other people are teaching to get an idea of what's out here. A lot of people who teach don't look at anyone else. They do this thing where I'm just going to focus on what I have to say and the real people will come. As though the real people are anyone who's going to believe me. Because I'm looking I've looked at at least two people teaching this week. Anyways, I looked at one of them. The first one, he said something that's very true. Okay? He said something that's very true. Most of the spiritual work is a battle against yourself. There isn't somebody out there hiding something from you. There isn't someone tricking you or distracting you from what you need to know. Most of your battle with yourself, most of the battle you're having is with yourself. Excellent. Excellent. Round of applause, for me at least. Here's the thing about that though. And if you're familiar with me, you'll know I'll say it. Okay, that's not, I wouldn't disagree with that, but what is you? What do you mean when you say yourself? Like, what is that? Like, for instance, if I said, the real battle is against your... Okay, your first question is going to be, well, what is the... Right? Obviously. But because you already believe you know what you is, you don't question that. And that's the crux of the misunderstanding. That's the crux of the spiritual work. It says, know thyself. You'll get that a lot. Know thyself. Go within yourself. What the fuck is self? What does that mean? I'm trying not to get frustrated. When you use words, they have to be making a distinction. If not, then it's just sound. This, that. Those words are making a distinction. That was just sound. It's not making any distinction. It's just sound. Like these are things you know. And so this is why it's your responsibility to question and challenge your teachers. I love the questions and challenging. Please, let's go. We can fight all day. It's going to be fun. A child, when they're learning, when they're developing, they ask a million questions. It's par for the course. Part of when people left Christianity, their issue was they couldn't ask questions. And so they say, well, it doesn't make sense. Why can't I ask more questions? This part, I don't understand this part. I remember when I was a kid, my dad did this thing where he would tell me not to question him. And as a child, I had no idea what he meant by that. To me, if I didn't understand, the best thing to do was to ask a question. But when I would get the response, don't question me. And so I couldn't communicate with him. It led me to not trust him. There's a difference between asking a question and questioning someone. If I'm questioning you, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. Like if my dad had said, I need you to trust me here, I would have been more inclined to hold off on my question. More inclined, I would have done it for a little while. But you need to be free to ask questions. So that's completely there. But sometimes when you start asking people questions, they consider it a debate. They consider it an argument. Because what they're looking for is for you to take their word on it. It's easy to say, go do the research. Like I actually love research, so I do the research. I'll even do the research with you guys. Like it's not difficult, but you actually have to do it. So why do they call acupuncture pseudoscience, but they don't call dry needling pseudoscience, which is basically the same thing? That's usually pointing to the person's metaphysics, what they consider real. Because to say something is pseudoscience, the pseudo means it's not necessarily real, and it's kind of posing as science. And so you also have to know what science is doing. Most times when people are thinking science, they're thinking from the metaphysical presupposition of materialism. Most of what we know as science today, especially in the Western world, is a hyper focus on what is physical or measurable is what is real. And the place where acupuncture originated wasn't a physicalist metaphysics. Like, okay, here, let's look up acupuncture. Because I want to say this comes from like ancient China. Give me a wiki. And I use Wikipedia because it's going to give you a bunch of places to begin from. Alternative medicine and component of traditional Chinese medicine. Okay, so it's coming from traditional Chinese medicine. Traditional Chinese medicine has a different metaphysics than what we would consider medicine today. And so, just like they will say a rain dance is pseudoscientific, it's a metaphysical issue. Okay? Like if you were to ask them back in the day with their metaphysics, if they were to look at our metaphysics, they would tell you what your metaphysics is short-sighted. It's missing a whole component of reality. And that component is where you're going to get that you from. Where the experimenter is an integral part of the experiment. Most of the scientific method today goes through countless measures to remove the influence and bias of the experimenter. But when you get into the quantum physics, it's hard to do that. That's what a lot of people will talk about when they talk about quantum physics, how you observe it versus when you don't observe it. The observer, the experimenter, is an integral part of the experiment itself. And most of the scientific method today, based on materialism, just cuts that out. And so there's an aspect of reality that most people are missing when they try and do what they're calling science. But you're only going to realize that asking the metaphysical question, looking at the metaphysical aspect, knowing what metaphysics is. And it's not just spooky science. So when you're calling something pseudoscience, it's that appearing to be science. And a lot of times it's an issue of metaphysics. Definitely going to check out the Billy Carson debate. Oh my God. I guess it's just for entertainment so you can laugh. Man. Billy Carson says some ridiculous shit. But whatever. Vocal man, Billy Carson promote his shit. Spirituality don't mean broke. That's how he got motherfuckers. Yeah, it's prosperity preaching. See, I'm not going to tell you that you can do this work and you're just not going to be broke. I don't do that. There are a lot of preachers. You get it in Christianity. God wants you to be prosperous. You come out here to the spiritual teacher. You're manifesting your money. And that's what catches the attention. What? Oh. Yeah, your money is recycling in the ethers. And so it's coming back to you. You just got to keep waiting. Oh, God wants you to be prosperous. You just got to keep waiting. Here comes the plane, Jimmy. And Jimmy don't realize how gullible he is to the salience of the plane. The plane. I like planes. I like money. How deeply people are motivated by money. If you ask them, they're like, no, money's not important to me. These other things that you're supposed to say are what's important to me. But then you dig a little bit deeper. The things they say that are important to them, they're not actually taking care of those things. All their focus is on money. What's going to get them to move? Like, for example, some people will think, I don't need to spend any money on anything for my spiritual work, right? Now, to be quite honest, to be completely honest, because once again, this could hurt my bottom line, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But that's like saying, to have a church, I don't need any pictures of Jesus. I don't need pews, altar. I don't need a building. You gonna go to church with no building? See, this is what I mean. It's not wrong, but in the sense it is wrong, it's wrong for a certain reason. Like, yes, you can do it. That's where it's not wrong. You can do it, but I'm interested in why is that what you want to do? And the answer is usually, I want to avoid having to spend money. And see, that simple fact is why you spending money is valuable. You read a book and it says, okay, Oshun, these are the offerings you give Oshun. You give her some honey, right? You give her some sweet things. But why? Why is that fruit on the altar important? Why is a pound of sugar important to Oshun? What do you think? It's in the molecules? Once again, that's how people are used to thinking. The sugar vibrates at a certain... No. No. It was important because it was valuable to you. It's important because it's valuable to you. In the time and place where that was what was recommended, you give Oshun a pound of sugar, say. You had to do a lot of work to get a fucking pound of sugar. Maybe there was only a certain time of the year you could get it. Only a certain place you could go when it was actually doing sugarcane. And then you had to take the journey to go get it. And then on top of that, once you went and got it and you gave it to Oshun, it wasn't for you no more. So you couldn't have it. You ever see those like witch recipes, right? Where it says you need 20 human bones and 30 frog legs and the eye of a newt. Why? Because you got to work to get those things. See, just you going and finding 30 frogs and taking their legs is already part of the ritual. The amount of time it's going to take you to go find a newt and then take its eye is part of the ritual. Where are you going to get human bones from? The amount of work it takes you to get that is why it's part of the recipe. See, that's why you're going to want to spend money. You open a church, you're going to want to get a picture of Jesus. Well, I don't want to get a picture of Jesus because it's going to cost me money. But that's why you're going to need to do it, because it's valuable. What, you want any picture of Jesus? No. You want the one that looked good, that had some time put into it, because it's valuable. Equivalent exchange. This is why you needed those things. Now, see, you can go buy a pound of sugar like that. You can go buy a pound of sugar like that. Ain't no blood, sweat, and tears in it. It ain't valuable. You can't undercut these things. Well, technically, you can. But come on, this is the thing. Let's say someone did that in dealing with you. They gave you a car, and they undercut all the quality, right? You're not happy. Somebody built you a house, and they undercut all the quality. Quick, easy, cheap, right? You don't want it. But then that's what you want to give in terms of dealing with these spirits. That's why you're fucking up. Yes, you can do it without spending money, but you don't have anything that's valuable other than that. It's a representation of your blood, sweat, and tears, ain't it? You worked hard for it. Unless you're out here scamming folks, right? Unless you're out here scamming folks. Anyway. So look, you can still be mad at me. Aries, fuck you, I'm not going to spend no money with you. Then don't. Then don't. But what I will ask is, don't deny how valuable it is to you. See, if I'm going to tell you, continue being selfish and delusional, you're in denial. That's not going to allow you to do this work. It's my responsibility as a teacher to tell you what you don't want to hear. It's my responsibility as a teacher to let you know when you're not ready to teach. That hurts the bottom line. That hurts the bottom line, bro. So this is part of the acupuncture. That's all I was pulling it up. It's completely different metaphysics than the one people are using today. Sorry. I got caught up in that. Excuse me. That feeling shit. I'm doing work right now to get out of that. that you're gullible in a certain way hit close to home. Feelings was the only thing that was meant to have question marks. Well, a lot of people use their feelings to determine what truth and what's real, if they feel a certain way about it. And it's a carryover from adolescence, from childhood. This is what children do. And if you're not cultivated out of that, you'll carry it on into adulthood. You know, they won't ask a question because they feel stupid. They'll go out and start teaching because they feel like they get it. Another story. Like I said, I listen to other people teaching, even though I have to go through my own disgust with it sometimes. Dude is reading a book, right? People will read a book on live and they call it book study, and it's just reading the book. And cause specifically, he wouldn't look anything up. He didn't study. He didn't know what the word replete was. Here, let me look. I'm gonna pull up the word replete. It's like replete. Didn't know the word gargantuan. Didn't know the word Daath. But this is what was happening. And dude's teacher was even in the chat. Perfect time to say him. Really, the perfect time to tell him he wasn't ready to teach was before he started doing his lives. Teacher wasn't telling him, hey man, you're not ready to teach. And him there, not knowing what Daath is. The people in the audience, in the chat, trying to ask questions. So is Daath just the ego or the seed of the ego? And just like the two kids talking about baseball, and neither one of them knows, but they want to feel like they know. So you can't tell them otherwise. Bruh, what is Daath? Because I'm not, okay, replete, excuse me. Because there's so much of it. Fully or abundantly provided or filled for. Replete. When I think about replete, I think about like something that's full, like that little cornucopia horn, the little horn basket full of fruit and shit. It's replete with food. All right, fat, stout, complete. If you're going to be teaching somebody, not only do you need to know the words you're using, but you need to be dedicated to pointing out, even in yourself, hey, I don't know this word. Let me look this up. None of that. Just skip over the word and then my best guess. He even directed his attention to his teacher in the chat. It's like, hey, I want to ask you a question about this. And like he could acknowledge he may not know, but this is the thing he did that drove the nail in for me. He told himself that the conclusion he came to made sense. One of the biggest issues I see people having is their ability to reason. Like this goes back to the feelings, Mr. Songbright. It felt correct, and so he stopped there. It felt correct, and so he stopped there. Imagine if your math teacher did that. Any teacher, instead of dedicating themselves to having the knowledge they need to have, which requires you to check yourself, they just give you what they feel. Imagine your doctor did that. Your banker, your mechanic. You take your car to your mechanic, you're paying him money, and all he got for you is what he feels. You hear the clicking noise, click, 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 click. Well, I feel it's your air filter. And he don't even say it's feel. He said, well, that sounds like your air filter. How would you question that if you don't know anything about cars? See, I know enough to know I don't know shit. I can tell you, you hear a clicking sound? That's not your air filter. It's not your air filter. But this goes back to what Relax You Good was asking. Why people don't call out these teachers. Because they don't know. They don't know the teacher doesn't know. They presume what a teacher is someone who knows what I need to know. That clicking sound is your air filter. Boy, stop. That's wrong as hell. Bro, just go to the YouTube. Go to the YouTube. It's gonna be much better. All right. So Daath, right? Daath. Let me go over Daath for you a bit, okay? And I even did a bit of a segment on this in one of my live streams. I didn't make the whole live stream about Daath, which I don't really want to do. But whatever. In the book he was reading, because a lot of people, there's another thing I want to go to. I'm sorry, I'm not going to grab it. Let me stay here so I don't lose you. Daath, okay? This goes back to the Kabbalic tree of life. On the tree of life proper, when we call what we're looking at the tree of life, there are 10 Sephiroth on the tree of life. In addition to that 10 Sephiroth, here's a better picture. No, I can use this picture. In addition to those 10 Sephiroth, the Sephiroth are each of these spheres, each of these circles, okay? There are 10. In addition to those 10, there's what's called a hidden Sephiroth. This is known as Daath, okay? Well, that's what it's named, Daath. In the book he was reading, it was referring to where people who are using this system confuse Daath with Kether. Kether is the one at the top, okay? And they were referring to ego. Now, mind you, in order to teach Tree of Life, Daath, ego, where does ego come from? Do you know? Which is a popular word. Where does ego come from? If you're going to teach someone about ego, you might want to know that. This comes out of psychoanalysis with Sigmund Freud. And generally, when we say ego, what most people mean is personal pride, but that's not what Freud meant. That's not what the people who made this meant. At the same time, dude, I'm watching. He'll invoke ego and subconscious mind. I've already done many things on this. Freud and them ain't talking about no subconscious mind. None of the psychologists were talking about a subconscious mind. This is part of the reason I don't like to talk about consciousness. They can invoke ego. They won't invoke the rest of the system. They don't even know anything about the system, but they'll say the word. Soul. Where does soul come from? Don't know, but you'll tell it to someone else. My apologies. The Daath, okay? And keep in mind, the Hebrew, right? These words are coming from a completely different language. You're going to want to know what that means in that language. All right, and I did a video about this. Someone I'll point you to is John Vervaeke. John Vervaeke, okay? He talks about meaning in life, which is what most people are looking for. Metaphysics is meaning of life. In of, what's the different areas? So you don't know. Before you go looking for what's the difference, make sure you take into account you don't know the difference between in and of. Fuck! Anyways, John Vervaeke has a very good take on the idea of Daath. He has a very good take on a lot of things people are actually looking for and confused with metaphysics. A lot of these teachers are not going to tell you this because they don't want to point you to someone else, because they want you to stick around and make sure you do the money. Because look, on the business side, I want you to stick around. But what do I do? What do I do? I consistently give you a free alternative. Because I already know your motivation is going to be the money. I get it. You need it. It's important. It's valuable. You don't want that to be the case, which is why we can't have the conversation about how it is. But I already know. It's fine. It's not wrong. So I'm gonna consistently give you a free option. I remember in the guild, dude was trying to talk to me about different ways to monetize more of what I do, and I was like, yeah, but you can do that thing for free over here. Here, look at this. Yeah, you can do that for free. Here, look at this. Yeah, you can do that for free. Here, look at this. And he was like, bro, I'm trying to help you make more money. I'm like, then do what I'm telling you to do. Like, get into the program. If you really want me to be making more money, get in the program. But if you're interested in what you're talking about, I can show you somewhere you can do that without me. It's going to take more work. It's going to take longer, but go ahead. Like, I'm not trying to dissuade you from it. I know inevitably you're going to look at other people besides me. So please, go ahead. Because I can tell you what, you can't unhear what I'm saying. I'll see you again. All things in its time. Maybe what you're supposed to be doing is go and take in a year and go do all those other things before you come back around to me. Okay, cool. Look, you know where to find me. I'm not difficult to find, motherfucker. Shit. So, last thing about the Daath, okay? When we're talking about the Kabbalah, there's the idea of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. So you're familiar with that in Christianity. You're allowed to eat from the tree of life, but as soon as you eat from the tree of knowledge, shit's going to change. You won't be allowed to do what you were doing. Shit's going to change. What is the tree of knowledge? This is called the Qalipoth. This is called the Qalipoth. As I said, the tree of life has 10 Sephiroth. The Qalipoth has 11. The Qalipoth has 11. The Qalipoth is said to be behind the tree of life. Okay? Here we go. So with the Qalipoth, this place where we're calling Daath isn't hidden on that tree, which gives you the 11. Okay? But what does it mean? What does it mean that the tree of life, the tree of death, the Qalipoth, the tree of knowledge, is behind the tree of life? People can't tell you things they don't know. Okay? People can't tell you things they don't know. We'll do this, right? Let's say this right here is your tree of life, okay? Let's say this piece of what I'm holding is your tree of life. And you're looking at it like this way. You got your Kether all the way here. I'll pull up the image of the tree of life so we can keep them together. All right? You got your crown right up here at the top. You got Malkuth, the kingdom, right down here at the bottom, right? And let's say this little hole, you see this hole? Let's say that hole is Daath, okay? Let's say this one is the Qalipoth. So your tree of life and your Qalipoth. Now, when people think, well, the Qalipoth is behind the tree of life, this is what they think, right? They're just putting it behind, and that's as simple as that. You missed it. Here. It's more like this. It's behind it. Look, when I hold it like this, the brush is still behind there, right? But in order to experience it, to engage it, you have to make a different move. See, right here, it's easy to tell that the tree of knowledge is perpendicular to the tree of life. But if you say that to a student, they don't understand it immediately. All right? You say it's behind the tree of life. Look, I'm still telling you the truth. This brush is behind the piece of wood. Okay? Most people, they look at the tree of life, and the initiates are taught, this is the whole of reality. That's something I'm going to get into, initiation. This is the whole of reality. And so the initiate engages, engulfs themselves, immerses themselves in learning this. But the truth is, this tree of life is the bottom of something else. All right? The Kalipah is what we'll be talking about is the unmanifest realm, the potential realm, the realm of potential, the pre-heaven state. See, once again, motherfuckers don't research. They don't reason. They repeat what they've heard, and they feel good. They get confident about it, and so they just tell somebody else. I'm sorry. I got behind in the fucking chat. I apologize, bro. I used to cite EJs. I used to get don't question me, stay in a child's place. I just realized having an argument and debating with someone is two different things. Argument is usually full with emotions. Yeah, really. Like debate has a bit of order. But a lot of people, they don't know the difference. And they'll easily fall into argument. Like you can see the old Afrocentric guys who are in the consciousness community, they would be set up to have a debate, but will fall into argument. And the audience is ignorant about the whole thing, so they don't understand. See, they can interpret argument because it's emotional. But in order to interpret debate, which is rational, which is reasonable, you have to have the capacity to do so. Like a kid who doesn't necessarily know how to understand language yet, they can watch a cartoon. And they look at the cartoon character. They look at what the cartoon character is doing. They don't understand the words yet, but they can understand the emotion. The parents are arguing. They don't understand what the parents are saying. They can understand the emotion. And so the audience is underdeveloped in a way in which they don't understand. And so they look at a debate as an argument because an argument is what they can understand. Watch a debate, okay, between two people in a subject that you don't understand. Not so you can see who won the debate, but you can get a feel for what it's like to not understand that you don't understand. It's crucial, right? It's part of the self-deception. Dawson, welcome to the show. Good to see you in chat. You probably got in here a little minute ago. Yeah, about 30 minutes ago. Good to see you on the show, Dawson. I wasn't ignoring you. Ryan Moore, he really has the best analogies. I'm assuming you're talking about me. Look, you gotta know what you're talking about to make analogies. If you hear a teacher giving you an analogy, a metaphor, and it fits, the best way to understand whether or not you really get that is not just ask that teacher questions, but to figure out how to formulate that same analogy with a different example. It's very crucial. It's part of the learning process. Flacco 80. Welcome to the show. Niggas standing outside with no chairs, right? What kind of church is that? Fuck out of here. Look, you gotta understand what's valuable. You have to know thyself. Where does that come from? What does that mean when they say self? First place you want to look is in your own self-deception. You want to be able to get and that's why I put up shadow work a second ago. Because I talk about shadow work in the guild. Like, I spend a considerable amount of time on shadow work. Because most people think there's some new information they need. It's not new information you need. You need to be looking at your patterns of self-deception. Why? Because regardless of what information you get, your patterns of self-deception will always be in the way. And so if you don't know how to deal with that, it don't matter what new information you get. You're going to fuck it up. Like that's to me, that's simple and basic. That's why it frustrates me. There's Poseidon, oh, that makes sense to me now. While they used to sacrifice their best animals, shit, it was their best food. Yes! This is why you sacrificed your best sheep. Not simply because it was the sheep. It was valuable. It was valuable to you. What you think, God needs a sheep? The motherfucker created all of them. God don't need a sheep. It needs something valuable from you. Oshun don't need honey. Why was honey valuable? You had to go find a bee's nest. Or you had to go find a certain person cultivating bees. That shit ain't easy. It's the equivalent of go and find 30 frog legs. Okay, maybe frogs are easy for you to find, but get them legs and bring all that back to me. See, people were hyper-focused on the shaman. The shaman told me to go get 30 frog legs, right? They didn't understand the degree to which they themselves were part of the work. It's like a doctor don't heal you, you heal you. He just helps facilitate it. Shaman was the same way. You heal you. You're part of reality. And so he helped you to tap into that, especially when you don't know how to. Shaman said, okay, I'll make the potion for you. I'll make the whatever for you, right? What I need you to go do is get 30 frog legs, get a jaguar tail. What? Get the tail of a jaguar? It's part of the ritual. Not the tail itself. You going to get it. Your blood, sweat, and tears going to get it. Because look, you got somebody go out there to get those 30 frog legs. What are they doing? What are they doing? They're not just putting in the blood, sweat, and effort. I bet you they're thinking about their involvement in the ritual. What's going to happen? You know, you need 30 frog legs for this particular deity. Whole time, I bet you they're thinking about that deity. They're already engaged in the process in a way they don't need to understand. It would take too much work to understand it. They don't want that. They just want the results. I don't know what you mean by replenish, Dawson. I apologize. I'm late to your comment, about 20 minutes late to it. I apologize. Don't let a mechanic hear you. What? Talking about that click? Yeah, that must be an air filter. Right? That's crazy. And I'm sitting here watching motherfuckers in the spiritual shit tell folks that clicking noise is their air filter. And they mad at me because I'm going to mess up your customer base. Because your customers coming to you about the click, and you telling them it's the air filter. And every time they do all this shit with the air filter, and the click is still there. So they keep coming back to you. They'll pay thousands of dollars to get a consultation. They'll pay thousands of dollars to get your folder of videos and call it a course to try and fix that click. And I'll come over and did he tell you? Air filter? No, that's ridiculous. No, we're above debate here. It's about more than debate. Like, imagine that. Imagine that. Your mechanic telling you this wrong ass shit. Another mechanic tells him, hey, man, that's wrong. Look, auto mechanics is about more than debating. But why do they say that? So they can keep telling you that wrong shit and not have to be accountable for it. Come on now. Come on. Panic fucked some of y'all niggas up, bruh. Panic fucked some of y'all niggas up. But it's part of the responsibility of the teacher thing. Relax, you good. John Beveke, the closest thing to truth for what we actually want to know. He's actually talking about it. He's actually talking about what you guys are interested in. Because me, I want to talk about metaphysics. I'm interested in metaphysics. I love occultism. It's part of my life. even when I put the two together and have the conversation, it still misses the thing you guys are looking for, which is why I started the guild, to get into practical magic. How do I make this about my everyday life? How do I use this in my everyday life? That's not necessarily occult or metaphysical. I'm all right. Flacco 80, do you still have that free ebook available that's in your highlights? Yep. You click the link in the guild, you click the link in the description, it takes you to the details. But you click right here, boom, both of them are available. I think I even still have the link for these on our website, occultcornerstore.com. So yeah, available. The three paths is dealing with the concept of, from the Western tradition, the right-hand path, the middle path, and the left-hand path. All right? These are angles of approach to the work. These are angles of approach to the work. It's not about picking one, what's right. We'll get that in there. And Sacred Surfaces is about one of the methodologies that I work with, that I love, altars. Altars is something I love. It's probably in the guild. I teach you the fundamentals of altars. Why? So not simply that you can just, you can be all about altars, because if you know the principles behind it, you can do any working tool. If you understand the principles behind it, you can do any working tool. Like, I don't like to teach people old methods, old systems of spirituality and magic. Even Bobby Hemmett told you, that shit is dead. It's done. It's over. But why? See, people like to think it's there's a shift in the saga of time, and it's like, no. It's not talking about time. It's talking about the systems themselves. The systems were made to fit those people in that time. You're a different people in a different time. The Egyptian pantheon had crocodiles, and hippos, and a jackal. Not because those are more spiritual than a penguin, but because that system would fit them. Someone in the Arctic, they're going to have the penguin, the orca whale, the walrus, the snow fox. Because it fit to them. Some people will go and try and do the oldest thing they can find. Well, now I have the original. It's not about it being original. That shit fit to those people. Your metaphysical system has to fit to you. This is part of the reason, even in the West today, because the English language in Western culture is deeply tied to Christianity. But people are rejecting Christianity. Why? It doesn't fit to them. Why? Their metaphysics. Their metaphysics is not the same as the metaphysics of the people who made Christianity. This is why you can go study Santeria. You can go study the Kabbalah. Go and study it, please. So you can start to see how they put their stuff together, but it's not made for you. You don't speak Sanskrit. You don't speak Hebrew. When I say Daath, it don't hit. For those people in that time, it hit. It's supposed to. Prakrushna, Prakriti. Okay. You just have another name for something. But you don't get the something because that something, the way it was fashioned, wasn't made to fit what you are now. That's why those old systems are dead. You need something that's going to fit you. why I made the Bookman model. But hey, like I said, I'm going to give you a bunch of free alternatives so you can avoid dealing with me. I'm a dick. I'm a piece of shit. Obviously, I'm tricking you and I just want to take your money. Okay, cool. If that's what you think, fair game. I'll even help you on that endeavor. I'll give you plenty of people, plenty of resources that you don't have to pay for. Fair game. I don't care. Shit, I'm going to be here when you get back. Fuck you, mean. Mark, good to see you in the chat. Would you say that occult and metaphysics is about how you think? Well, metaphysics specifically, yes, because it's a branch of philosophy. The occult is dealing with the unapparent. See, people like the idea of it being hidden because that's how they try and figure out what they need to know. Oh, what are they trying to hide from me? What is the secrets that they don't want you to know? So they like hidden. Because Panic said it means hidden culture. I disagree with that. But, you're not going to hear that because Panic was above debating. I'm above debating. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy. Philosophy is thinking about your thinking. So it's not an issue of what you think. So you stop calling it matter and call it Purusha or Prakriti. Okay, you didn't change how you think, you changed what you think. But I don't believe in Jesus anymore, it's now the higher self. You changed what you think and not how you think. And this is an issue of how you're thinking. Another person I watched this week. You guys get this from Panic. This is why I really do wish Panic had been more involved with the people he's talking to as opposed to being above it. But I get it. Y'all niggas is frustrating. I get it. The notion that you don't need initiation. But you don't, Aries. Slow down. Because this goes back to whether or not you need money to start a church. On the one hand, you're absolutely correct. To worship the Lord, you don't need money. When you give a fuck about it, you'll want to put money in it. You got a car that you give a fuck about. What do? You want to put money in it. You got a house you give a fuck about. What do? You want to put money in it. You got a wardrobe you give a fuck about. You want to put money in it. The things you give a fuck about, you want to invest in. See, that's basic shit. So it's not that you have to put money in it. It's that when you give a fuck about it, you put what's valuable to you into it. You cultivate it. Period. Anyways, in order to engage with divinity, you don't need initiation. You're absolutely correct. In order to partake in these systems, you need initiation. That's like saying, I can be a part of a gang and not be initiated. What if I start walking around telling niggas I'm a GD? I'm most certainly not. I'm one of those niggas who don't know much about gang culture. I know a few gang names. I don't know like the hand stuff. I don't know the colors. I don't know where they are. I'm not cool. But let's use that as an example. If you ask a GD whether or not you need to be initiated to be a GD, they're gonna say yes. If a GD heard some dude out here teaching gangster disciple shit and he ain't initiated, what's gonna happen? And why? See, you want to tell yourself, I don't need to be initiated? And on a certain level, you're correct. In order to start a gang, You don't need to be initiated. Go start your own game. In order to be part of what's going on, you need to be initiated into it. You need to be initiated into it. Things like the tree of life were made for initiates. Things like the chakras were made for initiates. And not just initiates in general, initiates from those people in those times, in those places. One person I did a consult with, because I learn from you motherfuckers all the time. She was talking to me about, most people, we know about the idea of chakras and they're spinning wheels, right? You'll hear people tell you that. Because I don't teach chakras. And there's specific reasons I don't teach chakras. Most of the one I just told you about. But what do you think of when you think of a spinning wheel? What is a spinning wheel? A wheel that's spinning. No, come. I get that's what you like to think. What is a spinning wheel? Not just a wheel that's spinning. This is a spinning wheel. You don't see these anymore. At least not in the place and time and people that you're from. So when they tell you a chakra is like a spinning wheel, you don't know what that means. And you don't know what that means. And your teachers aren't letting you know because they don't know. Most of these people in the West are trying to take stuff from other cultures and represent it as though now they understand it. Most of you motherfuckers who think you're learning magic and occultism, you're just learning European shit. Ancient mage. I think you're pronouncing that mage. I almost said Maggie. Ancient mage, good to see you. Could attending college for a specific career be considered initiation or a step of it? Yes. That's a great example. You're a doctor. Let's say you go to a doctor. Didn't go to school for it. Didn't go through a process of tempering to make themselves into this thing. Right? I don't believe in initiation. Anyone is a doctor. You go into that motherfucker for a heart transplant? No. You go to a banker. I don't believe in learning finance. That's just what they want you to think. You don't need to be initiated. You giving that motherfucker your $5,000 to invest? No. Mechanic again. I don't believe in being initiated. I've driven my car for 5 years. I know how it works. You gonna take your clicking sound to that motherfucker? No. So you don't have to go to medical school to become a doctor. But one, with no initiation into the subject, what the fuck makes you think you'd be a doctor? Go out there and learn everything a doctor needs to learn by yourself. Go ahead. You're free to do it. There's a point to this shit, man. Initiation was a process. The process was supposed to shape and mold the initiate. And y'all out here trying to shape and mold yourself into something that you don't even know what it is. Fake it until you make it is awful advice. Because all you're going to do is fake making it. A kid making a mud pie. It's faking until you're making it. It's not baking. It's not baking. Imagine if no one ever told them that mud pie wasn't baking. They'd fuck up baking. Thank you, love. Just go to the YouTube. Just go to the YouTube. It's so much better. So there's a point to it. There's a reason behind it. See, some people are trying to avoid order and structure and limitations and rules. And so because of that, they can't actually get through the initiation process. Because look, you can do a self-initiation. Well, what a lot of y'all don't realize is that's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more taxing, and you have a lot more of a responsibility to yourself. Once again, what the fuck is self, right? Why don't you go learn karate without learning it from a master? Technically, once again, you can do it. What's going to happen? You're going to get out here and cultivate poor form. You think you're doing that kick right. You don't realize your knee is wrong, your hips ain't turned the right way, and you have no way of learning that. It's selfish and short-sighted. So yes, you can engage these things without initiation, but without initiation, you're not mastering it. You're making a mud pie. Because the same motherfuckers who will tell you you don't need initiation into anything will tell you fake it until you make it. I'm livid right now. See, I've been getting better at this. Usually, you can go back and look at my catalog. When I'm pissed, I'm just fucking livid. I'm boiling right now. Gerald, Sleeping Beauty type shit. Would you say Brother Panic was mixing and matching old systems and wasn't really giving fundamentals? Yes. Yes, I would say that society ejects. Brother Panic was mixing and matching systems and not giving fundamentals. But see, I've had to become a teacher. Not only that, before occultism, I was always interested in metaphysics. Panic don't talk metaphysics. He'll tell you he's an eschatologist. Which isn't a metaphysician. And then motherfuckers will just repeat it. That was another thing I want to talk about. Another person I was watching, because like I said, I could tell who taught them. Like, you ever see those old Chinese fight movies, right? And somebody comes to challenge the master, some young upstart, right? And just based on the moves the person does, the master can tell who taught them. I can tell who taught you niggas just by what comes out of your fucking mouth. Just by what comes out of your fucking mouth. Because this is what he said, right? The 22 paths of Oshun. And he's spitting it like he even looked any of that shit up. Here, let's do this right now. I'll do it with you. See? Once again, I do it with you. Because motherfuckers was just listening to me say it, like, and then go back and know what you was doing. You want to go look it up. This one here says 38 roads of Oshun. 5 roads of Oshun. The many faces of Oshun is a better way to articulate that. See, an uninitiated person who doesn't do the research and is just repeating someone else and doesn't understand that that's all they're doing will tell you that. Because look, you hear the word paths, just like we did a second ago with spinning wheel. Well, that's a wheel that's spinning. No, it's pointing to something specific. You hear the 22 paths of Oshun. What do you think? The same thing you dumbasses think when I tell you the 3 paths of Ascension or the path working in Kabbalah. Oh, this says what I'm supposed to be doing and the ways I can walk. No. The paths of Oshun are the many faces of Oshun. The different ways in which Oshun approaches you. See how that you keeps coming up? It would make a lot of sense to know what the fuck a you is. But they're not going to point that out. from DreamWise. Or you mean the Panic Pack? I had gotten the Panic Pack 2 times probably. Oh, it actually came for you in the mail? That's funny. No, DreamWise is another one out there. Learn from Panic. Learn from Bobby. Look, man, I'm not saying Panic or Bobby are bad folks. I'm not saying everything they said is wrong. I'm saying the people who are learning from them don't understand the person they're learning from. Don't understand the context of what they're being taught. Bobby could jump from system to system to system to system to system because he was well read. But when he tries to dip into the scientific method and metaphysics, he wasn't in that. He wasn't versed in that. Oh, that's my shit. Mm-hmm. And so unless you understand what you're looking at, you don't know that he doesn't know that. But sometimes when people they trust Bobby. They feel really good about Bobby. And so they'll hang on his every word. And it fucks him up. I gotta plug that up. It's killing me. Hold on. There we go. Like, you niggas ain't well read. Like I said, I've listened to the other dude who was on YouTube Live reading the book. I can tell he's not well read. The people who wrote these books were well read. Like, you can't just fake that. Well, to somebody who doesn't know, you can. But to somebody who knows, you can't fake that. To somebody who don't know shit about cars, you can tell them that clicking sound is their air filter. To somebody who knows about cars, ain't no way you can get away with that. This is why so many people are above debate, because they want to be able to get away with telling you whatever it is they have to say. 22 Paths of Oshun are talking about, because it's not even just 22. I've seen it from 5 to 38. And it's just Oshun. The different ways that this will approach you. The different ways that Oshun will approach you. So what does that do for an initiate? That shifts the initiate's way in which they think. Because maybe the initiate started out and the only way they thought about Oshun was fresh water. Right? But then they listen to the master, and the master's telling them, no. Oshun has many faces. And starts telling them about the other ways in which they can see Oshun. Because look, this is what I say, the metaphysics these people used. When you were in that system, that part of those people, in that time, in that place, when you said Oshun, that's like us saying fresh water. When a motherfucker in Kemet, in Egypt, said Ra, that's like us saying light. These systems were made to fit these people. It's not just say some new words, bro. Fuck, man. I gotta go back. I missed some of these shots. Yeah, Dawson, you get jumped into a fucking game, bro. You get initiated. I'll be damned if these motherfuckers telling you don't need initiation will go out here and teach gangster discipleship. Teach the Bloods and the Crips. Okay, I've come to my limit of gangs, I know. Just so you know. But I'm not going to teach you that. I'll be damned. I will be damned. I don't have that audacity. Amar. Well, did I finish that? Or is that in the guild? What magical system is made for us during these times, or is that in the guild? Yes, Flacco. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to miss your comment. That is what I'm doing in the guild. And see, this is the thing about the guild. The Bookman model is bare bones. Like, I literally make this model for people in a contemporary time, not to just follow what I say. This is the basic structure to create your own. That's what everybody wants to do, right? But this is what happens. And it's part for the course, and I can tell you, but you're not going to get it till you get it. There's so much more that goes into these systems that people don't understand. There's so much depth, complexity, and nuance that goes into this. And people want it to be easy, simple, quick, obvious. And it's not. It's not because I want to make it more complicated. They want everything to be made simple. And look, you can make things simple, but that's not going to get you away from complexity. You only make something simple in order so that you can extrapolate it into understanding complexity. And so, yes, that's part of what I do in the guild. Me and my wife are working on actually making another system from the skeleton of the Bookman model. Because like I said, this is bare bones. Most people who are teaching you spirituality, one, don't know what the word means, because they call everything spiritual, and so now the word doesn't make a distinction. Most of them don't know what spirituality is, and no one's going to question them on it. I don't know how often people will say, I'm the first person to challenge anything they say. You need it to be challenged. That's part of what makes a thing a science, especially philosophy. Metaphysics is philosophy. So not only do you need that, there's the potential for so many schools of thought. And most of these people are trying to teach you old systems. And y'all motherfuckers will soak it in as if you're being taught the truth. Truth is a philosophical concept. Well, they're teaching me what's real. Real is a philosophical concept. Ontology, specifically. This is part of what I go over in the guild. That first existential essential is ontology. The second one is epistemology. Epistem, knowledge. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Because you can't tell me what exists, ontology, unless you tell me how you know, epistemology. And see, most of the systems, the way the initiate was taught, the ontology and epistemology of the system, is through the cosmology in the form of a narrative. They were taught the ontology and epistemology in the form of a narrative in the cosmology. This is part of the reason people think they know spirituality, because they picked up some new narrative. There's a war going on in the astral realm between the elites and the reptilians and the ancient brotherhood of the White Order. Fuck. Like, you won't even question where you get these ideas. Most of what people call spirituality, this new age stuff, comes from the Golden Order of the Dawn and the Rosicrucians, which in turn give you the Theosophical Society. Let me see. What's the actual? The Golden Order? No, Golden Order of the Dawn. Here it is. Yeah, Golden Order of the Dawn. Right. Most of this is the Western, is European, really. European ways of thinking about things that they didn't think about. It wasn't part of the culture. Your ideas about ceremonial magic come from the Golden Dawn. The astral, soul, comes from the Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians. Most of what you're invoking is European history. And people keep trying to project that back on the history of these indigenous cultures. No, you're wrong. But you don't know you're wrong because nobody challenges anything. It's called historiography. When you're trying to take what you're doing now and project that back on the past as though that's what they were doing in the past. It's incorrect historiography. But these teachers ain't well read. They don't do research. They just read books to you. And look, that's great in kindergarten. That's perfect in kindergarten. That's why I'm not going to knock them completely. But y'all are missing it if you think you didn't hit the upper room because of that. So there aren't any magical systems being made today because people are just teaching old magical systems from cultures that aren't part of theirs. Like that's what the Hermetic and the Golden Order was doing. They were making a magical system for the people of Europe, for the Western world. That's why you motherfuckers eat it up and don't even think about where it comes from. Because it's made for the Western mind. But you'll pretend like it's really secret ancient knowledge. Tell me about astral projection. What the fuck is the astral? Huh? Where does that model of reality come from? Model? What do you mean a model? The book, see, that's why I come up with the Bookman model. The idea of astral is from a particular model. The idea of conscious and unconscious is from a particular model. The idea of atoms, subatomic particles, is from a particular model. And when you don't understand what a model is, you'll confuse the map with the territory. When you don't understand what a model is, you'll confuse the map. A model is a map of the territory with the territory itself. So you think atoms are really out there. It's a model. And if you look into history, the model has changed. Even if you look into the history of these different systems, throughout the culture, they change. They change because the people change. These are models. But when you read a Kenneth Grant book, like it's not a model. When you read the Theosophical Society of H.P. Blavatsky, and you don't realize it's a model because you're so desperate to find the secret truth. But you'll never look up what truth is. The secrets of reality. But you won't look up what real means. But I cannot stress that enough. These motherfuckers will claim to tell you truth and reality, and you never question what those words mean. Look, Bookman model, right? First thing, existential essentials. Why? Because the answers to these questions are the substance of what you use to determine true and real. To someone in Islam, the jinn are real. To someone in Christianity, angels are real. To someone in Judaism, a golem is real. Okay? to someone, just a materialist, because look, most people are materialists and don't realize it. That metaphysics doesn't fit any of these spiritual systems. That's why when I say something like a subatomic particle is real, you'd agree with that because of your metaphysics. The answers to these questions frame the fundamentals of your metaphysics. And by virtue of how your metaphysics is framed, you get things like real and true. These are philosophical discussions. None of these people who are teaching you are philosophers. And they never get challenged to be. They don't want to be initiated. They don't do research. And the people who teach them aren't going to do research either. And people who they teach aren't going to do research either. They're just going to repeat what they've been told. And then go run to a Christian and accuse a Christian of doing that. I'm sorry. I get behind in the fucking chat. I apologize. Amar, Brother Panic had heavy physicalism undertones. Yes. In his book, he talked about chakras in the body, pineal gland, and classification being a spiritual hindrance. Goetia, 72 chakras in the brain. Yeah. Panic and Bobby. Once again, because they weren't metaphysicians. Bobby Hemmett was a scholar. Panic was an end times eschatologist, means he's looking at the idea of the end times from different systems. But neither of them are going to tell you ontology, epistemology, and cosmology because they're not metaphysicians. None of them are. But see, if you're looking at them, if you're learning from them, and you're looking at them like this is the secret knowledge, here's everything I need to know, you miss it. If you're picking up the cosmic doctrine, Judy K. King, Kenneth Grant, look at the spooky title. Like, motherfuckers are reading these books like they're Bibles. Hanging on every word and don't even look up none of the words. Hanging on every word and don't even look up the words. Don't question whether or not they understand those words. Just like a baby, they babble. And it's part of a baby's development, but there has to be someone who stops the baby. You said that word wrong. You said that wrong. Mama don't want to do it. The baby looks so cute. Just saying some words. Daddy got to say it. That's not how you say that. Try it again. Got to. Somebody got to do it. So yeah, Bobby and Panic have heavy undertones of physicalism. This is why Bobby Hemmett is telling you about melanin. And then the people who learn from him, like Dreamwise, for example, right? Him and his lady, they'll tell you melanin is outer space. You know, people who come from the Bobby camp will tell you melanin is everything. Because that was the only part of the conversation that was salient to them. Melanin. Why? Because it's something that's real in the physicalist metaphysics. Just like I can say subatomic particle. That's something that's real. Right? Exactly. From your metaphysics, from your model of reality. That's why Panic will reduce your chakras to pineal gland. You mean to tell me that you're the most high? Okay, cool. I won't argue with you on that. But you being the most high, what's stopping you is a sprinkle of calcium on a piece of meat the size of a grain of rice. What? Let me say it again. You're the most high. And what's stopping you is calcium on a small piece of meat. You gotta be outside your fucking mind. You gotta be outside your fucking mind. But most people who are teaching this are. And their audience isn't going to challenge it, isn't going to question it. In fact, some of your teachers will facilitate what's called spiritual bypassing. Like in the beginning, when I said I was listening to the consultation and the person who was the student suggested, well, I'm just going to stick with my selfishness and delusion because that's getting me results. That's called spiritual bypassing. The spiritual work is supposed to help you not be selfish and delusional. But when you use spirituality to facilitate being selfish and delusional, that's called spiritual bypassing. That's called spiritual bypassing. Selling you a framing of shadow work where you don't have to have the painful memories, right? Spiritual bypassing. How do you know what is useful and appropriate? Well, it depends on what you already want. Is this hat useful and appropriate? I think it is. I like this hat. Is this hat useful and appropriate? It depends on what I want to do with it. If I want to drink coffee out of this, it's not useful and appropriate, is it? If I need a condom, is it useful and appropriate? No. If I want to warm my head, now it's useful and appropriate. What's useful and appropriate is determined by what you already want. This work ain't about what you want. Here come the plane. There you go. Got him. Because you don't understand, you don't understand. You don't understand how you're gullible in this way. And that's the only thing you respond to is what you want. So you can't hear nobody when they're telling you anything other than what you already want. Spirituality is not about your cells. It's not about unlocking something in your body. Being part of the Yoruba system, water is not fresh water is not H2O. It's Oshun, Olokun. Your framing of reality. And so now for people who have the metaphysics that they do, this is why I talk to you about the impact the metaphysics you have is having on you. Because if I say, okay, here's the first axiom. I am not my body or I am more than my body. Okay? You have to be able to agree to that if you're going to do something spiritual. Why? Because if you don't, you're just going to try and make everything spiritual a metaphor for the physical. Jesus being 33 was about your 33 vertebrae. But what did you do? You took the whole concept, the nuance, the detail of the 33 from Christ, and you reduce it to physical. The 12 disciples is your 12 cranial nerves. Took the metaphysical concept and reduced it to physical. Back oil, cells, magnetosphere, melanin, 0-point energy. It's materialism. Just like I'll say, astral is invoking the Theosophical Society, the Order of the Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians. Just like I'll say ego is invoking Freud, radiator and alternator. What am I invoking? Auto mechanics. Mitochondria. DNA. Nucleus. What am I invoking? Biology. Specifically cellular biology. Because if I talk to you about ATP, that's molecular biology. Right? But it's just as simple as your money's recycling. Think positively. But why are they not going to tell you that? Here come the plane. And if they don't feed you like that, your ass won't eat. You'll reject everything. See, I'm being nice to them. A lot of them ain't fit to teach. And because nobody's allowed to challenge them, they just get to go. You imagine a kid out here, he used to be a kid, right? Maybe 3 or 4 years old. Grow up, they're now 50, right? Giving classes on bacon. And all they ever learned to do was make a mud pie. Giving classes on bacon. And all they ever learned to do was make a mud pie. That's what we got out here. Because no one's allowed to debate. No ideas are allowed to fight against. Remember the old Chinese fight movies, right? The master from one place could challenge the master from another. It's not the end of the school if the master loses. It shows you how the different systems and styles can match each other. Because some system may be better against one, and this other system is better against that one. Man. I'm all right, though. I'm all right. Sounds like self-initiation is learning the pain and mistakes. Well, part of it is. Because what you learn from the pain and mistakes is how to do it right. What you learn, like we're learning to ride your bike. By doing it wrong, you start to hone in on how to do it right. And so if I'm going to teach you to ride a bike without you doing it wrong, you never really learn to do it right. I don't want you to go through pain. I don't want to go through pain. But I can't tell you you're learning and keep all the pain away from you. It's just, it's wrong, bro. Oh. Are you familiar with Bro Yosef? Yeah, I'm familiar with Bro Yosef, bro. Man. Look. Because in today's age, because no one's allowed to debate, you can't talk about the person. You have to talk about the message. And so sometimes I'll talk about the message. Because he'll get into the alien thing, the reptilian thing. He'll get on the, what's the dude who does the Black Magic 363 thing? He'll interview people. And like, bro, he'll just be sitting there. Oh, wow. Facts. Okay. Yeah. People will get on there and say anything. And motherfuckers feel like they're learning, like they're getting closer. And all they pursue is that feeling that I'm getting closer. You ever seen a turtle on his back waving his legs? If all that turtle focused on is the fact that its legs are moving, it'll feel like it's going somewhere. If it don't focus on the fact that it's on its back, it'll never get anywhere. I'm trying to get you guys to focus on the fact that you're on your back. Your ass backwards. Other people are like, just move your legs. Forward progress, right? I mean, if you're moving, right? Yeah, I like that. Oh, I'm going to say that to a nigga. If you're moving, you're moving. Uh-oh, yeah. No. Look, maybe that'll work once you get off your back. Once you get out of your own way. can't, like, I have to be able to make that simpler. Like, I think that's that simple. That's Haritake? What the hell is Haritake? What is Haritake, guys? Was that a fruit? Oh, it looks like it's like a fruit or a seed that somebody's telling you has a lot of benefits to it. Oh, I don't know. Look, I don't know nothing about it. I'll be completely honest. I don't know nothing about it. I don't think I've ever heard of it. It looks like that Mexican pear. That's what this looks like here. It looks like that Mexican pear I've seen. Yeah, I don't know about it. Apparently, y'all niggas saying it sound like it got scammed. Hey, man, I don't know. Oh. Well, what I got it. All right, Taki powder. Looks like it's made from a seed. Does it tell me what it is? Well, so you already got to know what it is. Allergens. For allergens? Look, I don't know what the hell it is. But she got some of it. But there you go, guys. We got some Haritaki. Yeah, look, but I don't know. I'll tell you I don't know. I remember back in my younger days, I used to dress like a blood. Ooh. And some real blood came up to me and was like, it was trying to do the handshake. I didn't know how to do it. I took all that shit off. There you go, bro. Look, that's how I do. And motherfuckers don't like me because what you mean I don't know the handshake? Like, bro, I can tell you don't know the handshake. And now you embarrassed because you been walking around fronting like you were this or that in front of all these folk. Damn, bro, that hurt. I hope they didn't whoop your ass. Marnie, good to see you in the chat. From Bookman Model, can you explain page 28 and 29? The one to do with shadow work and me and we axis. I sure as hell can. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Well, page 28 is Path of the Father. So I'm not sure if that's what you were talking about. I think you were talking about page 29 specifically. Okay, what I'm talking about here was shadow work. All right. Because like I said, in other systems, they use the cosmology to not only teach you the ontology and epistemology, but from the cosmology, that narrative, they give you methodology. So for example, in Christianity, you have the methodology of doing communion, which is you get the little wine and the cracker. Why? Because in the story, Jesus sat there with the disciples and had that whole issue, right? You'll have a methodology of having a cross. Why? Because in the story, Jesus is nailed to the cross. Okay? So you'll get a lot of your methodologies directly from the cosmological narrative. However, in the Bookman model, I don't use a narrative. The reason I don't is because people will try and learn the narrative as opposed to learning the fundamentals I'm trying to point to. So I go out of my way not to use a narrative. But what I do use is a map, a methodological map specifically. So when we're talking about shadow work, I'm focusing on the part of this methodological map that's non-physical. That's why it's blue. The primordial part is purple, okay? That's where you're talking about ascension, the paths of ascension, things like that. When we're talking about shadow work, it's a non-physical endeavor. It has to do with this concept of a me, okay? The idea of a me, because the me and the we are two different things here. And once again, I'll use the Christian example just to give you the dynamic of what I'm talking about, okay? Let's say you have a Christian, right? This is Brandon, by the way. This lovely face right here, this is Brandon. So whenever you see Brandon, I'm talking methodology. Let's say Brandon is a Christian, and Brandon has a relationship with Christ and God. So you can see this purple arrow up here at the top, pointing to this top part here. Let's say Jesus and God are that way, okay? So that's talking about the we-ness that Brandon has between Brandon and Jesus. So when it's Brandon and Jesus, there's a we. Okay? That direction between Brandon and Jesus is the primordial. That's the ascension. Because what is Jesus? Jesus is the way. Jesus is the way. None come through the Father but through me. Jesus is the way. And so he cultivates that relationship with Christ where he has a we with Christ. But that's the ascension part. The me axis. This is what you're asking about. This is where the shadow work goes in. Because here, that's not about Christ. That's not about his relationship to Christ. Okay? That's about the idea of Brandon itself and what composes that. All right? In the model, I use the idea of personality and shadow. The two go hand in hand. They coincide. You can see the two intersecting circles. I think there's another word besides intersecting. I can't remember what it is, but I think it's called a Venn diagram, where the two circles are intersecting. And that part in the middle is your conception of yourself. Okay? The conception of yourself is focused or composed of both your personality and shadow. And these are two categories of things. Okay, so they're not singular things. Your personality isn't a singular thing. You have a personality that you have when you're by yourself and no one's watching. You have the personality where everyone's watching. You have the personality at work, the personality with your mom, the personality with your family, the personality with your dog, the personality with your kids, the personality while you drive, the personality when you're angry, the personality when you're sad, the personality when you were 5, the personality when you were 10, the personality when you will be 60. When we're talking about personality, it's the part of that conception of self that not only do you acknowledge it's in the light of your awareness, you perceive it very readily, and you present it. You also present yourself as this. That is your personality. The part of your conception of self that you don't present and sometimes are not aware of, this is called shadow. Okay? The two are part of the same complex. That personality and shadow complex, they're part of the same thing. They build this me. This idea of a me is what that's composed of. So shadow work deals with how that thing is structured. All right? That relationship between personality and shadow. Because the way people teach shadow work a lot these days is they teach you as though shadow is a problem. It's not that it's a problem, it's inevitable. Everything in the light casts a shadow. Sometimes people will confuse shadow with darkness. Shadow is cast in the light. Light is cast in the darkness. Different things, okay? Very different things. But once again, when no one challenges anything anyone says, who knows, right? Who knows? So that's what I'm talking about here. So when we're talking about shadow work, it's focused on the me axis. And that me axis is non-physical. The we axis is primordial, all right? So that's why I focus here on the me axis when it comes to shadow work, because that's the focus. And keep in mind, I'm using the colors to represent the fundamental aspects of the map. Let me show you the fundamental map. Here we go. The top map is a fundamental map. The bottom map is a methodological map. If you get directions on Google Maps on how to go from where you are to go to the grocery store, there's the fundamental part of that and the methodological part of that. Methodology means how to do something. So if you take the methodology off the map, know where you want to go and know how to get there, you just got the plain map by itself, that's a fundamental map. It's the kind of map that's not telling you what to do. It's not talking to you about you. That's a fundamental map. I use those colors on the methodological map to show you the association. Okay? So like when you use the Google Maps, you have the fundamental map, and then in order to explain the methodology, they superimpose the methodology over the fundamental map. I'm superimposing the methodology over the fundamental map. I'm using the colors so I didn't have to try and squeeze everything into that little diagram. So it's a methodology, because the discussion about how to do something is different from the discussion about the fundamentals of it. How to drive a car is different from what is an alternator, what is a transmission. Because I can tell you, I can spend an hour, not me personally, but hypothetically, I could spend an hour telling you what an alternator is. And at the end of that, you could be like, okay, yeah, but how does that help me get to the grocery store? That's a completely different conversation. That's a completely different conversation. See, some of y'all are listening to explanations about an alternator, and then your whole listening is based on, well, how do I take this knowledge of an alternator or transmission and use it to figure out how to pick up my friends? You missed what the fuck we're talking about. Being taught about the alternator and the transmission, a discussion of what it is, doesn't tell you how it works or how to use it. See, that's the difference between meaning of life, alternator, transmission, and meaning in life. How do I use this to go to the grocery store? How do I pick up my friends? Two very different conversations. But to somebody who doesn't know about any of it, you can't tell the difference. Hopefully I answered your question there. Damn, I got behind, bro. Fuck me. What do you think would be the mark of your teaching? Like in the example, you could tell who taught based off the fight style. It's usually going to be the words you say. Because, like I say, I listen to other teachers. I love to see what else is floating around out here. Nobody says non-physical. Nobody. When I hear you start talking about it, I know where you got it from. It was doing on Instagram. I know he was listening to my stuff. He tried to convey it as though he had books he got it from. And I'm looking at those books, I'm like, those books don't say that. Those books don't say that. Like people will talk about subconscious mind and pretend they got that from Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I know you didn't get it from them because they don't talk about that. Most of y'all, Bobby and Panic, or some other pop psychologist. See, the words you use and then how you use the words will tell me where you got it from. I remember one time, right, because I used to manage at the Jimmy John's. We had another manager, a young guy. Coincidentally, his name is Brandon too. That's funny, right? Anyways, because this is the kind of person I am. I listen deeply to the words you use, and not just the words you use, the way you put them together. I can tell when you're saying something that's not yours. And it was one day I was already there. I was slicing up meat. I'm not even paying attention because he's talking, and I'm like, stop talking, because I'm a piece of shit. But Brandon had been reading a book about being a manager, about being a leader, and he quoted from the book. And immediately I was like, because he didn't tell me he'd been reading a book. He just said what he got from the book. And I was like, hold on. Where did you get that from? That's not you. You don't talk like that. You don't say words like that. You don't put words together like that. Where did you get that from? Like people are, and so with me, things like, look, now you hear a few people mention ontology. Uh-oh. Don't nobody else out here mention ontology? And if they do, I guarantee you, they don't mention epistemology. Why? Because they don't actually want to learn from me. They know they can't ignore it. Look, you can't have one without the other. So I can spot it because I look, because I pay attention, because I'm doing the research. I don't stop. I don't stop. Let's actually enjoy the subject. Like, you ever learn about cars from a motherfucker who love cars? Reminds me when I used to pose like a skater kid in middle school. Somebody asked me to do a skateboard trick, and I couldn't do one. Exposed me. I had the hipster beanie on and everything. Yeah, man, most of these motherfuckers is just aesthetics. It's just aesthetics. Darkness, chaos. It's an aesthetic. Look at me, I do demons. Ha ha. Bro, you're still a Christian. It's the same cosmology, same metaphysics. You just switched. You switched to something in the same metaphysics. You're not cool or spooky or not Christian anymore. You're still Christian. Well, with demon, I mean Damon. Because I did a whole segment on that thing. I don't mean demon, I mean Damon. Where did you get that word? Where is Damon come from? You're going to grab one word that you like and forget the rest of the system, huh? Because that comes from a system. Just like motherfuckers with ego. I know what this means. And forget the rest of the system. Soul. I know what this means. And forget the rest of the system. Astral. I know what this means. And forget the rest of the system. I'm going to piss myself off. I still had a board too. I need to get that shit away. Look, you can give it away or really learn it. Like, you don't have to give it away. Go really learn it. If you don't intend on going to really learn it, give it away. Yeah, that's it's disrespectful to motherfuckers who know how to do shit. And look, like, because kids do that shit. They imitate things that they think are cool. But when you've gone through the process of learning to do something, making yourself into something, you don't need to fake it. As a matter of fact, you can easily spot who's faking it. Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay, right? Gordon Ramsay been cooking for years, cooking all kind of shit. And he can look at your cooking. He can, one taste, he can tell you what it is. Why it is, what you use to make it, right? When somebody has mastered something, they can do that. But now most people out here can't get to mastery because they refuse to be challenged. And the master has been challenged more times than the student has even tried. Often tried, never denied, willing to be tried again. That's the path to mastery. See, the initiation process doesn't make the initiated a master. It prepares them to begin the process of doing that. It's a purification process. It's a tempering. Motherfucker's so quick to be the master. Every Indian want to be the chief, boy. That one, not knowing what a model is. The common pitfalls of wokeness. Yeah, that's why I try and start with metaphysics. Because there are common ways people are tripping up. And it's not even about the thing they tripped over. It's about the fact that they failed to see it and why they failed to see it. There's a developmental psychologist called, I think his name is Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget. Let's say his fucking European name. Jean Piaget. I think it's French. Okay, I spelled that wrong. He was a cognitive psychologist, developmental, especially, I think he specialized in children. But this is the reason I bring this up. Children will make systematic errors. And so it'll be an error of how they think and not what they think. So you show a kid something big and something small. And because of how children systematically think, bigger is necessarily better. Right? You show a kid 1/4 or 24 pennies, and they look at that 24 pennies, that's better. It's about how they think. Yes, what they think was wrong, but it was wrong because of how they think. Even younger, a baby, right? When a baby loses something, all right, it's going to go back to where it thought it should be. So if it always finds the toy in the toy box, whenever it thinks the toy, it's going to the toy box. And it's going to completely forget that it left the toy over here. Because they haven't made the associate, they haven't learned systemically to think that the toy doesn't just come from the toy box. So there are systematic ways in which people consistently get this stuff wrong. I would say it's your teacher's responsibility to understand that. But hey, nobody's challenged. Everyone's the same. It's fake humble shit. And there's hope only based in physical too. And most people are only looking for results in the physical. Like I started out with the consultation. One of the questions, how do I change the physical world? Why? I so often tell you guys the physical world is perfect. What? Things are happening I don't like. Me too. Me too. That don't mean it ain't perfect. Shit. Suffering and pain. Yeah, but don't nobody say it's imperfect because of joy and pleasure. How come that ain't imperfect? Huh? Because you like it. And then what you've done is you've made all of reality about you. You the everything. You the real. Now, you want to hear that, don't you? The melanin movement was some low-key racist shit for real. And most people only say melanated because they're trying to juxtapose themselves from whiteness without mentioning whiteness. But in doing that, they're in allegiance to whiteness because whiteness's biggest defense is that we never mention it. Look at my white people. They're not going to mention whiteness until whiteness is under attack. Oh, let's forget about the history of whiteness attacking everything, creating the world we have today. No, it doesn't matter. I don't see it. Well, if you didn't see it, you wouldn't notice when it's under attack. So all the melanated stuff, because white people have melanin too. Shit. It's just like you're saying, it leans into the concept of race or the system of race. It's not spiritual. It exists. It has a reality to it, but it's not spiritual. It's not spiritual. Teachers are responsible for who they teach, but it's a lot of bastards out here. Hell yeah, it's a lot of bastards. I can tell people who've been taught by just Panic or Bobby. People who've been taught by Panic or Bobby, they don't get taught directly. Bobby ain't been teaching for over 20 years. Panic, look, you may have gone to Panic's class. You can't challenge him. I heard people talk about having been in Panic's class. Almost all you can get from Panic is the videos. He ain't even let the comments go on and shit. He ain't trying to talk to you niggas. So there's a lot of bastards out here. I'm trying not to raise bastards. And it's work. That turtle's gonna be food. Hell yeah, if the turtle don't realize it's on its back and confusing the movement of its legs with forward movement, it's food. It used to be that would be just food for me. But don't eat your kids. Babies aren't food. Okay. They look like food. They're small, they're dumb. They look like food. Well, you look where I start. It's my favorite thing. Don't eat your kids. Look, explore the animal kingdom, bro. Explore the animal kingdom. What you mean don't eat your kids? Don't eat your kids. No, I get it. Theo Progeny, good to see you in the chat. Gilded Gang. Slide the ejects. Oh, Harry Taki is supposed to unlock your third eye. All right, gotcha. I'm going to have some haritaki today. Right, man? Yeah. I don't mind things that are bitter too much. Okay. It's still a good herb to use for health, of course. Probably is. There's a lot of things you can do for the health of your physical body that are healthy for your physical body. There's a degree to which your relationship to your physical body is part of your spiritual work. But that doesn't mean you can reduce it to your physical body. This is why in the guild, the axioms for the system, because all theoretical frameworks have axioms. Christianity, God created the earth in 7 days. It's axiomatic. Physicalism, like physics, right? Big Bang. Yeah, it's an axiom. It's where your line of reasoning begins. And so if you reduce the idea of yourself to only your physical body, that line of reasoning can't lead to something spiritual. For it to be spiritual, there has to be continuity beyond the physical. If all that is real for you is physical, that's the same thing as saying there's no such thing as spiritual. All that exists is physical is the same thing as saying there's no such thing as spiritual. So that's not an axiom because I'm saying it is. It's an axiom because logically you need that. Whatever, it's you, Aries. Whatever. Oh, Relax You Good is back. Didn't know you were gone. Sorry, but welcome back. I hope that was satisfying. Concentric. That's probably what I needed for those 2 circles. Oh, never mind. That's not the word. Okay. What is it? Let me see. Venn diagram. Because I'll do the research right here with y'all. Because I don't know everything. What happened to it? I thought I just looked it up. What the hell? I didn't erase the last thing. Venn diagrams. Why use diagram? Objects set up popularized. The diagram used to something. You're going to use simple closed curves drawn on a plane. Often these curves are circle ellipses. Where's the word? Venn diagrams go to set diagram. Multiplication. These diagrams. Multiple overlapping. Okay, so they overlap. I can say that. I can say it as simple as that. Overlapping circles. Okay. Nakia Moody, good to see you in the chat. Welcome to the show. That pink stood the fuck out. The melanin was low-key some racist shit. Yeah, that's what Side Eject said. Hey, they say you ain't got no chi, bruh. Oh God, these niggas be stealing. Oh, chi. Here's another thing, right? Because like I talk about metaphysics, that ancient traditional Chinese metaphysics, where they're talking about chi, can't just be reduced to energy. People like to do it because it also gives them a feeling as though they understand science now. They didn't. They still don't understand science. Energy is the same thing as saying matter. It's another way of saying matter. Just like particle is another way of saying wave in that metaphysics. Like, unless you're looking for the ways you're deceiving yourself, unless you're actively trying to find where you don't understand and dedicating yourself to understanding, you're going to miss all of this. If you guys use how you feel to determine whether or not you're on track, you're going to lose. And motherfuckers are going to sell you emotion. Here, let me show my favorite Bobby clip, because I got to. I done gone the whole video and ain't showed you my favorite Bobby clip. Oh, I love this clip. Because I put the music on this one.
And if everybody agreeing on the same thing, somebody wrong. You see? Check? Check. All right then. They play on your emotion. Saying nothing well and playing on your emotion. Tell a person what they want to hear and say nothing well. You can say nothing if you can say it well. They play on your emotion. And that's the problem with our people. They have been teaching you what you wanted to hear and not what you really needed to hear, because they didn't know what you really needed to hear. That's called the art of public speaking. They play on your emotion. So that's getting your emotion up to a certain level, and you thinking that's spiritual, that's emotionalism. They play on your emotion. And they'd come up and they would come into some stuff and they would be talking all this good stuff and people, yeah. But everybody's ignorant. You see what I'm saying? They play on your emotion. And if everybody agreeing on the same thing, somebody wrong. You see? Check? Yeah. All right.
Everybody agreeing on the same thing, somebody wrong. Y'all will confuse feeling some kind of way with it being spiritual. Rhetoric. What is rhetoric? Because remember, look, you looking at these well-read people who are making these old spiritual books from occult books from Europe. You got to understand the process they had to go through. That's part of what initiation did too. If you're initiating the same system that your master was initiated, you get a sense of some of what your master had to go through to become that. In fact, you're linked or joined in a certain way with your master. Rhetoric. I think it's called 7 liberal arts. But rhetoric is one of them. It's the art of persuasion. Okay? It focuses you on not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it in order to persuade. Okay? It's a great tool. And I won't tell you I know rhetoric. I'm not a master of rhetoric, but I know it enough to know it exists and how it works and what it's supposed to do. One of the 7 liberal arts. There was a set of things you needed to know. That was what the liberal arts were called. Hold on, let me see if they have it in here. The trivium. You had the trivium and the quadrivium. Okay? Look, if you want a set of things you need to know, I don't know what I need to know. That's what the trivium was for. The quadrivium, the 7 liberal arts. Part of the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Because grammar is about the system of the ways in which we use language. When I had to start learning Spanish, right? To get the grammar right in my head, when I was thinking about it, I'd have to basically convert it to bad English. So, let's say, very big cat, right? In English, that's appropriate grammar. I've placed the words in the appropriate order. But in Spanish, I couldn't put them in that same order. Gato muy grande. Gato, cat, muy, very, grande, big. So I had to switch the order in which the words make sense. English, very big cat. In Spanish, cat, very big. That's grammar. And all different languages have them. This is why I suggest to you guys philosophy of language. Oh, philosophy again, right? Yeah. Logic. It's about how you're ordering information. You see, you can take different information, and depending on how you order it, it becomes different knowledge. Logic is about the form and the order in which you place information to create knowledge. There are different types of logic, and you need to understand logic in order to have sound reasoning. You can't just say, oh, the spiritual stuff is beyond logic and reasoning. You're invoking a logic and reasoning to say that. It's like when people say, there is no truth. Well, is that true? Thinking about your thinking. It's so necessary. But motherfuckers don't want to do it. They want to have the right answer. Every Indian want to be the chief. You want to fake it until you make it and then start teaching. You want to say you're above debate and then preach. Because that's all you can do if you're above debate. So rhetoric is about how you present words in order to persuade. Socrates was a philosopher, but he had a bit of a controversy with two other groups of intellectuals in Greece: the natural philosophers and the sophists. The natural philosophers are sort of what we look at today with the scientific method, okay? Where they give you truth, but they don't give you relevance. Relevance in the sense of, what does it have to do with you? How am I involved? The sophist gives you relevance, but doesn't give you truth. The sophist believes there is no such thing as truth. It's just whatever you can get people to agree to. Right? And so in the morning, he can go over here and convince these farmers that we need to stop growing olives. And in the evening, he can go convince the other farmers we need to grow more olives. Because the sophist isn't concerned with truth. The sophist is concerned with getting you to believe. In fact, you listen to a sophist, they'll say there is no truth. The sophists will pose as though they are philosophers, and they're not. They're not. I hate sophistry. Most of what people are doing today is sophistry. It's pontificating. It's saying things that are persuasive and salient, presuming truth is irrelevant. I'm livid. I'm livid. So you teach what the methods are of life, but John Vervaeke teaches the meaning in life? No. John Vervaeke talks about the methods, like when we're talking about life, yeah, that's the end. That's the end. Metaphysics is talking about what something is. All right? John Vervaeke, they're talking more about the human experience. How we connect ourselves to the world, how we think about the world, not what the world is. What the world is, meaning of life. Meaning of life. John Vervaeke is talking about meaning in life. In, as in part of it. Part of it. Look, if I say you're of the pool, lifeguard can be of the pool. The locker room next to the pool can be of the pool. If the pool is in a recreation center, the area around it is of the pool. The filter system is of the pool. The guy who comes to clean the pool is of the pool. If I say you're in the pool, you that motherfucker in the water that's wet. There's the difference. See, those are little bitty words in English. Motherfuckers who claim they know English and ready to teach somebody another book. I tell y'all motherfuckers you don't understand language. Not because I want to be insulting. If I wanted to be insulting, I could say your mother got a third titty and don't nobody even like it. Like, who don't like an extra titty, right? Your mama's titty that ugly. It's a third titty and don't nobody like it. Look, I'm trying to be insulting. When I tell you you don't know English, regardless of how many other slave niggas you speak with, that's not me trying to be insulting. I get it doesn't feel good, just like an insult. An insult doesn't feel good, and so you just assume he must be insulting me. No, I'm not. It just doesn't feel good. Because nobody wants to think I don't know English. I used to think that in high school, in AP English. Why the fuck do I have to learn English? I already speak it. But I was wrong, and I didn't even understand how wrong I was. I understood enough to be an AP English, but was still deeply wrong in ways I could not begin to comprehend. Dawson. Sophist sounds dangerous because they don't have no dog in the fight, so speak. Are they straddling the fence? Yeah, they become the fence. This thing that's so neutral is bias. But while at the same time claiming not to have any bias. What the sophists would do is, for a price, they would go and they would teach nobles and wealthy men how to be persuasive. Because back in those times in Greece, your ability to persuade the politicians, or even be one of the politicians and persuade other people, was what gave you power and influence in the culture. And so your ability to persuade could be taught, rhetoric, and the better you are at that, the more that what you said is considered true. It's about salience. Whereas with the philosopher, it's not about what's salient. There's a love for truth and wisdom. Like when we talk about bullshit, the sophists bullshits. They don't lie. Because a liar is concerned with the truth. Like if this is the Haritaki powder. Okay, if I know this is the Haritaki powder, and I know, let's say it's good for digestion, right? There's the truth. Haritaki powder is good for digestion. And then so I come on here and I tell you, Haritaki powder is good to sniff. I'm only a liar if I know the truth. That's what makes me a liar. If I don't know the truth and I'm not concerned with it, buy Haritaki powder. It's good for you. You get some of this, things are going to start going right. It's bullshit. It's not that it's not true or it's true. It's not concerned with the truth. It's concerned with persuading you. It's bullshit. And most of what's out here is bullshit. And it's not just because I'm saying it. Like, there's a technical term. On bullshit. Harry G. Frankfurt. Now, I'm not just saying the word. You can look this up. It's actually, other people study this as well. So it's not, like I said, I can point you to other people who are saying what I'm saying. Not so because, oh, now people agree with me, so I must be right. No, you can go get their perspective on this as well. Because the only thing I can do, I can't stop bullshit. The amount of time it takes to clean up bullshit is exponentially longer than the amount of time it takes to make it. The amount of time it takes to clean up bullshit is exponentially longer than the amount of time it takes to clean it up. The hyperversal induction of the electromagnetic spin of your DNA when it becomes a superconductor, when you introduce the pineal fluid, is elementary when it comes to calipophic initiation. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And the amount of time it would take me, and that came out of my own fucking mouth. The amount of time it would take me to explain every single thing I just invoked is so much longer than it took for me to say that bullshit. The amount of time it would take me to teach every single thing I just invoked is so much longer than it takes to give you that bullshit. So I can't stop bullshitting. Go to the thing. I can't stop bullshitting. What I can do is prepare you to deal with it because it's inevitable. And part of shadow work is looking at how you bullshit yourself. Yep. And it's not fun to find it. It's not. And you're not going to stop finding it. It's like wiping your ass. At first, you got to get good at it. And it's not fun. You're like, why do I have to do this at all? Why can't I just stick with a diaper? Don't you love me enough to change me? You must not love me enough. You don't understand. I got to teach you to wipe your own ass. That is love. So first, you got to get good at it. Get at it and get over yourself. And then once you get good at it, you got to do it for the rest of your life. You got to do it for the rest of your life. No matter how good you did it yesterday, you got to do it again today. Ain't a single time you're going to wipe and find pudding, cake icing, a dollar bill. Every time it's going to be shit. You got to do it for the rest of your life, and you got to be good at it. You got to be dedicated to doing it. Because as soon as you slip up on it, now you miss the itchy. And that's affecting everything else you do. You can say, I got a relationship with Christ. But if you're not being honest with yourself about how you are and what you do, it gets in the way of your relationship with Christ as a Christian. No, but don't say Christ. Say the Divine Mother. Okay, there you go, baby. Here you go, sweetie. Your relationship with the Divine Mother is going to be hindered by your dishonesty with yourself, your selfishness and your delusion, your self-sabotage, your self-deception. It's going to hinder your relationship with the Divine Mother. That's shadow work. It don't stop. You can get better at it, but it doesn't mean you're going to wipe that ass and find pudding. It may look like pudding on some days. Can you explain page 29, the Ascension, we axis, and then the spoon page 30? Yeah. Because the we axis, like I said, the me axis is shadow work. It's the shadow work aspect of this. Here, these two pages are right here. Well, is this close to... Let me see where the spoon boy is so I can give you spoon boy too. Okay, wonderful. Here, I'll use this picture up here to introduce you to Ascension first, okay? When I was talking about shadow work, I had the blue highlighted. You see? The black and the white sphere. The blue is highlighted. It's highlighted in blue. Why? Because on the fundamental map, where is blue? Non-physical. So it's telling you this is a non-physical thing we're doing. So with shadow work, the blue is highlighted. With Ascension, the purple is highlighted. Why? Because on the fundamental map, where's the purple? Primordial. Okay? So this is about your relationship even beyond this personality and shadow stuff. Okay? Your relationship, your direct relationship with the divine. Or in this sense, it's the primordial. Because the Bookman model is a threefold, it's a triangle model. All right? You don't want to have a dual model or a singular model. All right? And I've talked about different reasons why. Metaphysically, it doesn't work. It caves in on itself. Or it's insufficient to explain anything else. You need at least three. You can make it however many you want. Chakras, 7-fold. Zodiac, 12-fold. Tree of Life, 10-fold. Tarot, 21-fold. All right? You can extend it well beyond 3. The Bookman model gives you a basic framework. We're going to start you with 3. Now, no sense in me starting you at 10 if 3 is difficult for you, okay? So with Ascension, this is your relationship or your relationship with reality beyond the non-physical and the physical. It's your relationship with the highest aspects of reality. Now, to do this, once again, you have to look at the metaphysics you have. All right? When it comes to Ascension, there's a concept I use called genius. Okay? If you were talking Christianity, for example, one way you could look at that is what genius would be is something like Jesus. Okay? Even if you're looking at Buddhism, what genius would be could be a form of Buddha. In Buddhism, though, there's a lot of different things. Like they have the bodhisattvas. They're basically ascended masters who have stalled their own ascending to assist others behind them. So they come back to help others move up on the ascension, even though they haven't finished themselves. So it could be a bodhisattva. All right? The point is that what genius is an intermediary between you and that highest thing that you're engaged with. It's an intermediary between you and that highest thing you're engaged with. That's to keep it as simple as possible, okay? Because this process of ascension is talked about different ways in different systems, okay? But inevitably, whether it's going as high as just ancestors, it gets into the more archetypal realms, or goes well beyond any of that into the unmanifest realms and the chaos and the darkness, right? Yeah, all of those are different ways of describing ascension, going from one place to some higher place, or your connection from the lower place to that higher place. Okay? So most always, what genius is going to be is an intermediary between what you are and that most divine. The only place that's different is the left-hand path of the Father. And see, this is one of those ways I can easily tell, regardless of who is saying their left-hand path, isn't. Like you hear the demon vampire hustlers, right? Oh, this is left-hand path. This ain't what the religious Christians are doing. You're still in the same cosmology. Not only that, and this is the point, when it comes to those three paths of ascension, in the Western tradition, we know them as the right-hand path, the middle path, and the left-hand path. When it comes to those three different angles of approach, what's changing is you. What changes is what you are in the scenario. So it doesn't matter if what you is goes from dealing with angels to dealing with demons. It's still what you is has to change. When it comes to Path of the Father, what you is that position of genius. And some people that's attractive because a lot of teachers are giving you the methodology that what you need to do is detach. And it's not a bad methodology, okay? But this is the big key about detachment. It's not going to work if ultimately you're using it as avoidance. If you're using it to numb yourself or avoid something, it's not actually detachment. If you're using it to not have to feel what you're feeling and not have to do what you don't want to do, it's not detachment. It's avoidance with extra steps. It's spiritual bypassing. And really, the only place detachment is necessary like that is the middle path of the mother. And it's once again, you're starting with detachment, because all the way up the wheel of samsara, the cycles of life and death, here, all the way up the wheel of samsara, because the other day I did a live and I talked about this backwards. It was my fault. I talked about it from the outside going in, but that's not how it is. It's from the inside out, okay? Like down here in the middle is the core of that cycle of life and death. And as the karma is reduced, or shifted rather, because sometimes there are different hells on this wheels as well as different heavens. I guess if you get more karma, you end up in one of the hells. If you get less, you can end up in one of the heavens. But you become less encumbered by karma, and you're allowed to get outside of this wheel to this sort of unchanging realm. Like you got old boy up here, he's pointing to this over here. Because there are people who there are people who will stay outside the realms, but it's a means to an end. You're supposed to go that way, beyond all of the cycles. Because out here is still proximal to the cycle. Within these are still part of that cycle of life and death, the wheel of samsara. This is a type of metaphysics where detachment is what you want to do. Okay? For like a Christian metaphysics. Because there are a lot of metaphysics that are similar to that. So don't just get mad. Oh no, Christianity. Look, for a metaphysics where what you're called to do is have a relationship with Christ, detachment isn't what you need to do. This is part of why I say, as a thing is bound, so it is unbound. It's not about being detached. It's about examining how you're attached, deeply and honestly. If I'm chained to the floor, my methodology shouldn't be just detach. That's not even going to be possible unless I can examine my chains. Examine how those chains are connected to my wrists. Examine how those chains are connected to the floor. Examine how I ended up in that position. See, it's not detachment. I have to lean in to how it is I'm attached. And you can't do that avoiding the fact that you're attached. Imagine trying to get out of those chains, right? But you don't want to have to admit that you're in chains. You're not going to get it. So that's why I don't tell you guys to detach. It sounds good because it's an easy spiritual bypassing method. The devil's in the details. Sounds like an advertising firm or something. The sophist, I mean. Yes. Yeah. Advertisement is a good example of sophistry. John Vervaeke uses the example of a beer commercial. You see the Bud Light commercial, right? And there's a bunch of beautiful people having a great time, and they're all drinking Bud Light. Oh, look at us. We have friends. We look good. Our clothes are nice. We got Bud Light. Go to a bar and look at the nigga who got a Bud Light. Man, this nigga's at the bar, rough, just got off work, clothes are dirty, might not have nobody there with him. That Bud Light was what he could afford. But we know when we see the beer commercial that it's not true. But the point, and this is what the sophist depends on, you don't care that it's not true. It feels a certain way. And for a lot of people, as soon as it feels a certain way, it is that way. Emotionalism. Emotionalism. This is what I'm talking about in the Bobby Hemmett clip. Maestro, good to see you in chat. The Instagram shit threw me off. Why? Just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube. See, and this is funny, because I haven't been kicked off for hate speech. But I talk about this shit anyway. Like I'm doing the same thing I do on Instagram. Who knows? The V for Vendetta cell. I think that's a really good Plato's analogy, Plato's cave analogy. I gotta think about that a little bit today, as a matter of fact. But that's beautiful. I love that. V for Vendetta is one of my favorite movies, actually. Yeah, she's in the cell. Here, let me look it up. So she's in the cell, and she is completely convinced that she is locked up. Okay? And look, dude got the strong illusion on point, right? He kidnaps her off the street, hit her with the hair thing, right? I'm gonna get you the spoon, don't worry. Hit her with the hair thing, spraying her with all the good shit, right? So she just assumes it is what it is. Whole time, she ain't even really locked up. Most of what was going on was her agreement to it. Okay? So, I love it. I think it's a good analogy, the same way kind of like Plato's cave. Even the Matrix is like that, which is a segue into what I want to talk to you about here. Because I like to bring this up during the sessions as well in the guild when I'm talking to the cohorts. For me, this is the jewel when it comes to practical methodology. You want to learn, how do I affect the physical world? That's what everybody wants to know, right? Because you want to avoid this, that, or the third. Whatever. I'll still give it to you. Here's the plane. I got you. It's cool. So in the Matrix, right? Neo, Morpheus is taking him to go see the Oracle, and when they get there, they have to wait in the waiting room because, the Oracle's kind of a busy lady and she's got people waiting. So he goes into the waiting room and he sees old boy right here, Spoon Boy, bending spoons. The telekinesis kind of thing, right? So he sees him and they have this conversation. He hands Neo the spoon, and Neo's looking at the spoon because obviously he wants to try and alter the physical world, right? I know, that's what everybody wants. So, they have the back and forth. And Spoon Boy, don't try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only realize the truth. And Neo, because he's a little stupid, but the hero of the story is always a little stupid. It's part of their progression to stop being that. Neo, what truth? It's cool. Spoon Boy, there is no spoon. Now follow me here. Realize the truth. There is no spoon. There is no spoon. Once again, that's Neo. Then you'll see, it's not the spoon that bends. It is only yourself. Uh-oh. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Remember, And I started the show off with this. People will say, it's all about you. You're in a battle with yourself. Know thyself. You were the Most High. You were this. You were that. Well, what the fuck is you? Because it's even here. It's not the spoon that bends. It's you. Once again, pulling that right back to you. Here, I'll give you the secret too. It's wonderful. Because look, there's 3 steps that he's telling you here. Where? I don't see the 3 steps. I know, Neo. I know. Realize the truth. You bend. The spoon bends. Realize the truth. You bend. The spoon bends. Don't try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. This is what everyone's looking for. A trick to bend the spoon. Stop trying to bend the spoon. Realize the truth. You bend. The spoon bends. Let me show you another example here. It's right on time, right there. Look, you're playing Grand Theft Auto, right? And you got in the car, you got your avatars in the car, right? And you can see the wheel turning. Oh, you got his hands on the wheel, you can see the wheel turning, right? Is that wheel turning the car? No. Super Mario, he jumped on top of the little mushroom dude and he jumps over the pit. Are Super Mario's leg muscles causing him to jump? No. Call of Duty, right? You in shoot house. Oh, you got your LMG. I like LMGs. You got your LMG. Reloading. You see the animation, right? Are there bullets in that clip? No. There is no spoon. Uh-oh. Right? Look. Realize the truth. There is no spoon. See, this is what I'm pointing to when I say, what is you? Realize the truth. What is you in all this stuff you're talking about? Because once you can find that, when you bend, the spoon bends. You got the controller for the game, right? What's moving the car? You is bending. What's moving Super Mario? You bend. What reloads the gun? You bend. In the analogy of the video game, the world of the video game and the avatar in that game is the physical body and the physical world. I'm using this video game analogy. Mario's leg muscles ain't what's causing it. Ain't no bullets in that clip. That steering wheel don't move the car. What am I talking about? A video game world with the avatar in it. A video game world is the appearance of a place. It's the appearance of a place. What is the physical world? The appearance of a place. What is an illusion? The appearance of a thing. What is occult? It is what is unapparent. Uh-oh. A few things started to line up there. Hold on. Realizing the truth is remembering what is you in this scenario. And it's not just as simple as saying the soul. When you say the soul, you're invoking a particular framework. So if you don't know the rest of that framework, the word doesn't mean anything. If you don't know the word, the framework that the word comes from, the word don't mean anything. And you don't know where you can apply it. Y'all are playing Monopoly, right? Right? And it's dude's turn. And he in jail. He been rolling, acting crazy, doing. He just think in jail, right? And they come around to his turn, and what's what this motherfucker say? Hey, bruh, draw 4. Draw 4? Draw 4 is invoking a completely different game. Imagine what happens to that game if nobody challenges that. Right? Come on. Come on. Playing Monopoly. Yahtzee. It's not that that's not a game. It's not that there's not a reality to that. It's based on a particular framework. You're playing Super Mario. Hey, do an invisibility spell. Ain't no invisibility spell in Super Mario. There's one in Skyrim. Playing Super Mario. Hey, man, where your submachine gun? Ain't no submachine gun in Mario. That's a completely different framework. It is not as simple as just invoking a word. Because if that word doesn't point back to a framework, it doesn't mean something. Nah, motherfucker, you just like holding the trigger down so no one can shoot back. Wait, what? So you just spraying. I don't think that's going to stop other people from shooting back, though, if you just hold down the trigger and spray. I might be talking about something other than Call of Duty, though. Marnie. Oh, okay, so the problem is people are focusing on the physical body. I am Brandon, not the physical body, the idea of Brandon. Yeah, they're used to identifying themselves as the body, and they just try and force themselves to believe something else, as opposed to examining how deeply they actually believe that. Because how deeply they actually believe it is what's in their way. It's not that they don't know the new word. It's that it's deeply in your way. When you said LMGs, nah, man, I don't just like to just hold the button. Because you can't just hold the button down on the LMG. You gotta dance with that bitch, right? It's just pop, 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 pop. And then it's big, so you can't run with it. And you got a little bit of a aim down sight time because it's big. So you had to dance with that bitch. See, the SMG, these are. No, I like that. I like the. Oh shit! And people allow the unlimited non-physical I am Brandon to be limited by physical, like shadow work and trauma, like you explained. Well, yeah. I don't want to say no to that, but I want to add a little bit more to it. Because once again, I say the Bookman model is very bare bones. Like, it's not meant to be the end-all, be-all. It's meant to be a jumping board to create whole other systems of thought that can fit people today. And so, back when I used to start teaching this with self-deification, I would talk about the non-physical conception of self. So here, let me bring up some of my old images, all right? Because, fuck. Because there's so much more I could put on this fucking diagram, and I don't. Oh, God, I'm livid again. I'm livid again. I don't, because motherfuckers don't understand, and they won't even tell me when they don't understand. They just go, yeah. And so I gotta dig in there hold on, do you get what I said? Hold on, do you get? Oh yeah, you said that 1,000,000 times. I'm just now getting it. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me see where I have this stuff. Boom. This is how I used to teach it. And in terms of left-hand path, self-deification, I think this is much more on point. But motherfuckers are a lot of talk. They're not ready for the left-hand path. And when it comes to this work, what they're really looking for is how to change their life. Look, you see anterior charade and posterior facade? Don't this image look a lot like that one, right? Oh, let me go to the methodological map. Oh, not that one. Not that one. Here. The map at the bottom is a methodological map. That image looks a lot like this image. When I taught it in self-deification, there was an additional component, 2 additional components that I had for the non-physical. The proper persona and the diminished persona. This is when we're talking about that conception of yourself. So once you get this personality and shadow stuff and start to get in the habit of getting it in order, you get good at wiping your ass, and you've cultivated that relationship with genius, the idea of yourself is more integrated. Now, not integrated in the sense that the work is done. It's that now there's a system, there's a flow, there's a cycle, there's a harmony. And what you is, in terms of that me axis or non-physically, gets consolidated. This is what I meant by the proper persona. It moves from that diminished persona, which is in disharmony, where that personality and shadow are in disharmony. And now it's the center of a harmonious relationship as proper persona. So there's so much more complexity I wanted to talk about. But motherfuckers is confused by the complexity, and they're confused about their confusion. Like, look. Like I said, well, let me go to the first part. Interior charade, right? And diminished persona. There was more to that. There's an anterior to the charade and a posterior to the charade. Just like there's an anterior to the facade and a posterior to the facade. Because anterior and posterior are words that have a meaning. Like, I wanted to go into so much more detail. But niggas aren't ready for that. And I'm upset. But that's my problem. Jumping off the diving board into the real shit. You guys going late today. Am I really going late? Yeah, I am kind of going late. I get into it, man. Dudes want swimming lessons, but they ain't even close to the water. Right? They like, teach me how to swim outside of the water. What? No, you're going to have to get wet. You're going to have to get wet. I don't want to get wet. And eventually, even if you got over the fact you're going to wet, you have to take them floaties off. Look, after a certain point, you got to take the floaties off. They don't want to take them floaties off because they deeply identify personally with the floaties. Just go to YouTube. So in Left-Hand Path, persona could be anything as long as it's honest. How does that work? It's a result. It's like it's you with it's a clean ass versus the diminished persona, which would be just a dirty ass. All right? It's once you've cultivated the skill of how to wipe your ass and you're dedicated to consistently doing it. What's distilled from that process is what I'm calling the proper persona. Once again, with Left-Hand Path, what you is ain't none of that anyways. So it's easier to look at the process, but it's not easier to conceive what the you is because it would be in that position of genius. Like it's backwards from how people like to think about it. And how people like to think about it is already a different kind of backwards than what they think they're talking about. Like when I was telling you guys about the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. Like, look, with the tree of life, Malkuth, the physical world, is all down here. And so people are completely focused on the down here part and miss the rest of the tree of life. And nobody will correct them. They just congratulate them and tell them you're doing a good job. I'm the only person that corrects motherfuckers. All that physical stuff is down here. How do I change the physical world? That's all they're thinking about. In Christianity, give back 10%. What is 10%? It must be my money, Arius. No, that's how I know you're really concerned about your money. What is 10%? The tree of life has 10 sephirah. 1 out of 10 is 10%. Give back 10% the bottom. But they can't, because that's all they really believe in. You give back 10%, the rest is yours. But this is the problem. See, that's the first way in which they ask backwards. The second way in which they're asked backwards is the tree of life is a means to an end. Because what's behind it is perpendicular to it. And once you start to see that tree of knowledge, you realize the tree of life was flat. Oh, tell me about the Kalibov areas. No. How do I used to do my everyday life? No, just stop. Just stop. As you said, genius, is the connection between you and non-physical would be the genius, be imagination then? Imagination wouldn't necessarily be the right word. I would say it's imagine-ol. God, now I have to do this. Because once again, John Vervaeke talks about the imaginal. With the Western science today, in the materialist framework, you have objective, subjective, mind and matter. You have a dual system. It doesn't reconcile itself. There are different things that have been postulated to reconcile that. One of them is the idea of the imaginal. If you actually look into some Carl Jung, you'll get that. If you actually look into John Vervaeke, you'll get imaginal. John Vervaeke also says the transjective between objective and subjective. But there needs to be a third aspect. That's the point. The imaginal isn't imaginary. It's the space between objective and subjective. And once again, that's trying to explain it to you from the bottom, okay? Which I really don't like to do. But what you is in relationship to genius. So when we're talking about, here, I'll go to some of the actual material we use in the guild. With the paths of ascension. Because this is what I use the methodological maps for. Let me get to it. Here we go. Depending on which angle of approach you take, what you is in the scenario is different. Depending on what angle of approach you take, what you in the scenario is different. Just like we talked about the mall with the map at the mall, and depending on what angle of approach you approach the mall, you are here is different. If you come in through the food court, when you look at the map, you're a thing near the food court. If you come in at Kohl's, on the map, you're a thing near Kohl's. The mall doesn't change. What's changing is you. You. So, right-hand path, middle path, left-hand path. In the Bookman model, I use path of the child, path of the father, and path of the mother. Depending on which angle of approach you're taking, what you is different. All right, remember this image right here with truth, truth, and truth. All three of these are correct. Depending on what you is, what angle of approach you're taking, it's different. So what you is changes depending upon the angle of approach you take. Okay? So let's say path of the child is like, what you is something near the food court. Okay? What path of the mother is, well, what you is something like something that's the Kohl's. The path of the father, what you is something that's on the roof of the mall. And the whole map got to look a little bit different for that. But once again, it's hard to tell that to somebody who doesn't already understand metaphysics, because I'm talking to how the metaphysics is framed. You look at a map of the mall, for the most part, it doesn't include a map of the ceiling, of the roof. There are maps of the roof of the mall, or the map of the basement of the mall. Sometimes the mall has a basement. But you have to understand what you're looking at. Because the map of the mall with all the stores is going to look similar to the map of the basement. And if you don't know the difference between the two, you'll confuse them. And you sitting there moving in through the food court, trying to look at a map of the basement, like, just don't make sense. It's because of how the map is framing, what it's pointing to. Like, if you look at a map for the expressway or the bike path, it looks different from a map of the subway. And that's not wrong. It's about how you're approaching the territory. Clean ass, you can wear whatever pants you want. Dirty ass, you still need diapers. And look, and some folks got the dirty ass and don't want to admit to themselves they need that diaper or someone to help them clean. They'd rather make their necessity a virtue. Really, having a diaper is the highest of high spirituality. Nah, you got a dirty booty and need to clean that. See, the degree to which you're dedicated to the shadow work, the easier the ascension is going to be. I'm not saying it's just going to be easy, carte blanche. It's going to be easier. You'll get in your own way less often. But you have to be dedicated to doing it. And some people, as soon as they feel something bad, they just stop. I'm embarrassed. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I'm done. Mm-mm. Like, that's just like the first step. Like, okay, where is that coming from? Why is it there? How is it shaped? How are you holding on to it? Because not to say how are you holding on to it is in the sense of you have to let it go. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's right. But you won't know until you figure out how you're holding on to it. How you're chained to the floor. How you're anchored to the seabed. You're trying to get the ship to move, but you don't want to look at the anchor. There's no such thing as anchors. What? What? No. I'm not going to do that to you. If you want to get with that anchor, you have to pull it up. And look, you're trying to pull it up and it's stuck. So now what you're going to have to do? Dive your ass on down there. Figure that out. Otherwise, you ain't going nowhere. You can feel like you're going somewhere attached to that anchor. You're just going in a circle. Look at me. I'm doing forward movement. Movement is moving. No, you're wrong. You're stuck. And because you can't admit to yourself you're stuck, you can't even actually get to the problem. Shadow work. You got to be dedicated to it because it don't stop. Even in whatever religion you choose to follow, it's not about your human life. The idea of human is some new shit. The idea of human is some new shit. The idea of human is some new shit. You go to those old indigenous cosmologies, what you are was directly connected to divine. This idea of human is something that's inherently, by its own definition, disconnected somehow. And motherfuckers are trying to reconnect it, but don't understand how it's been disconnected. And so they can just get a new word and now poof, it's back. Like you cut a wire, right? If you don't look at how it's been disconnected, you can't reconnect it. So constantly exercising your awareness in what you're agreeing to catching your bullshit. You become more clear on what persona is improper. Look, I'm so serious. Don't look at the self-deification stuff right now. Just think about it in the sense of personality and shadow. You want to balance these two out. Because sometimes the thing you're presenting as your personality is bullshit. It's really just to hide some bullshit. Like, you go to somebody's house and they got a whole bunch of shit up under their rug. They'll show you the rug. Look at my rug. It's a Persian Arabic ambrosia rug. I don't know anything about rugs, so I just made stuff up. But why do they have the rug there? Because they're hiding the shit. So sometimes you have a way that you act. Why do I have on these skateboard clothes? I want to look like a skateboarder. That hides the fact that I'm not. Hides the fact that I don't think I'm cool, so I'm trying to be cool. Once again, very natural to do. But if you can't see that you're doing that, you're going to go from the fact of, look at the appearance of me. I'm a skateboarder. Yeah, I hang out at skate parks. That's what I do. A guy like me. When you start to layer all that bullshit, you can't see the underlying structure anymore, like hoarders. All that bullshit, they be living in that thing. What you mean, what's a smell? I don't smell nothing. Yeah, this pile of trash is my bed. What's wrong with that? No, I need that piece of paper. They wrote the newspaper article in 1954. I can just wipe off the rat shit. That's what you need the shadow work for. You start to get that shadow work done, you start to clean out that hoard, and you can more readily see the underlying framing of a house. And even once you get all the hoard out, you still have to work to keep the house clean. Otherwise, you end up hoarding again. I have a 4-year-old. He tried to not poop for 3 days because he wanted to prove me wrong. Then he shit his pants down. Oh God, get him out of my look. That's why I don't mind when y'all don't like me. You don't come back around. I already know. You can't unhear it. You gonna shit your pants. Don't worry, I got the wipes over here. Same thing with owning up to your own excuses and bullshit. You find a way or you find an excuse, no in between. Yeah, people like to think that they're rational. But what people generally do when left to their own devices is rationalize. They're not rational. They rationalize. They find what they'd like to believe and try and find things to validate that, as opposed to going to look at the facts first and coming to a conclusion based on the facts. They start with their conclusion they want and then look for facts to validate it, as opposed to looking for things that are going to invalidate what you already want to believe. That's how you start to challenge your own biases. Like, bro, this shit can be simple, but motherfuckers are going to tell you it's against their bottom line. You're not going to want to listen. And so once you leave, you're not paying the money anymore. Now you're fucking up with their livelihood. And not because they did something wrong to you, but because you're trying to avoid it. Because you're trying to avoid it. So that's part of the reason that also they're not going to tell you. Because they know you really don't want to hear it. And you're lying. And yes, I do get off sometimes on telling people things I know they don't want to hear. I'm a dick. I'm a piece of shit. So you're right. I am getting a little pleasure out of it. Okay, sue me. But it doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. That's all I'm trying to get you to say. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. Okay? You can call me a trickster all you want to. Go ahead. That more than likely means I'm not lying to you. Fool me once, shame on me. That's how it goes. If someone looks at evidence without a conclusion, doesn't the bias they bring influence the conclusion? Well, hold on. Let me think about it again one more time, because I was about to go somewhere. If someone looks at evidence without a conclusion, doesn't the bias they bring influence the conclusion? I think if you look at evidence without a hypothesis, it's hard to tell what it's evidence of. So you're going to have a hypothesis when you have evidence, because the evidence is what you're using to check the hypothesis, and that'll get you to a conclusion. Okay, but what you expect to see and what you're looking for are deeply influential in how and what you perceive. What you're looking for, what you're trying to see, deeply influences what you see. I got this jar from tomato sauce. Right now it's a cup. I got this jar from tomato sauce. Right now it's a cup. Right? You're going through the woods and you're tired and you want to sit down. All of a sudden, that stump, poof, becomes a chair. Oh, I thought a chair was a wooden surface with 4 legs. Well, it could be a table too, huh? What you perceive is deeply tied to what you're already looking for. And if you can't be honest with yourself about what you're looking for, you're going to deceive yourself about it. So that's why I try and point people to how they're deceiving themselves. Because they won't think about what made the stump a chair. They'll just certainly tell you the stump is a chair. Okay? That's why I said, what is you? They won't want to look at what that means. They just want to they want to be able to say, you are the Most High. You are the master of all melanin. You are in control with the authority. Okay, I won't deny that. Can you give me some clarity on what the you is? And that's when they start grabbing for anything, as opposed to invoking any particular framework. Because they don't have one. They just have a pocket full of words and what they already wanted it to be. You should look without a conclusion. And science is about staying undecided for years if needed. Just observe what is happening raw. It's the process to collect evidence for something, especially to make sure you're filtering out your bias. That's why philosophy always has a lot of problems when people make a priori, here, I'll look at the word for you. A priori arguments. Because it's hard for people to flesh out or filter out, to filter out their own biases for what they're talking about. And if they're not filtering out their biases, not debating, going back and forth, having other people Steel sharpening steel. If they're not doing that, all you're doing is just preaching your own biases. A priori are Latin phrase used in philosophy to distinguish types of knowledge, justification, or arguments by their reliance on experience. A priori knowledge is independent from any experience. Okay? It's not like empirical evidence. We use it with the scientific method. Okay. I'm going to end it here, guys. I'm going to have the rest of my day. We will be doing office hours in the guild for those who are in the guild. Other than that, guys, this has been fun. I want you to have a nice day. Or don't, really, because I'm